5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So what I was just telling you, what I was just telling you is the only time I ever edited like something substantial on the podcast up to this point was when I said Rye Guy's mom's name or something, like joking around.
Right.
And I needed to edit that out, yeah.
Right. So you have to like leave a timestamp on it then?
Oh, actually, I'm not. I'm gonna be dead ass. I'm not that organized with the podcast. Rye Guy was when we were doing it together. He'd like, he'd have a little notepad and he'd write shit down because that was back when I had no idea how to edit the stuff. And he'd have a little notepad and write himself like a little note of when we said something we're not supposed to. But back then we were like editing out each other's like first names and shit. And that took forever. I basically got all the guests on a first name basis because I'm not gonna I'm not doing that. No. Yeah. I think that's part of the reason why he stopped.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just you then.
Yeah, it's just me.
Is it just you doing this then?
Yeah, I'm the only host of the 3 in the Morning podcast. The only it's not like me and Rye Guy didn't have a falling out or anything, and he's still totally up for being on the podcast. I just don't know what the fuck to talk to him about yet.
Didn't have the dedication or anything.
He's got a lot of.
He's too busy.
Yeah, he's too busy. He's got a lot of other projects going on in his life and stuff. He's really trying to get himself into like a real career right now.
Right.
And and also he doesn't thrive off of deep philosophical conversations like I do. Like, to him, it doesn't bother him, right? And he's totally into it every once in a while. It's not something he wants to do every fucking week. It's not something he wants to focus on all the time. And just, yeah, stuff like that. And, well, shit, people just got home, and I kind of need to close the fucking door.
All right.
No, we're all right.
Go ahead.
I think we're okay for now. Because that is something I'd have to edit out, and I do not feel like doing that. Just roll with the punches.
You just hear someone like singing around the house. They come past your door. It's just like, God damn it.
Now, if that starts happening, yeah, I'll have to do something. Son of a bitch.
Marching band.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, I'm glad to finally get you on the podcast. For somebody who's been doing it as long as you have, I'm surprised it took me this long to get you on it.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't know why, because I've pretty much been free all the time.
Yeah.
Just
I wonder if it was me worrying about subject matter, because a lot of the time when I first started doing this, I wanted every episode to be about a specific subject, because I honestly went I went into the podcast thinking like, none of us are famous people. It's not like the Joe Rogan podcast where you can have like Elon Musk on your fucking podcast, right? Yeah. And because of that, I'm like, we have to talk about deep intellectual or philosophical or even funny subjects to entertain people.
Right.
But my algorithms say otherwise. I mean, I only got like 30 people watching it at any given time. But
30 people.
30 people, yeah, and that's way more than just our friend group.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, that's way more than just our friend group, so I know there's random people I don't know watching it, and I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool, right? And,
ooh, strangers from the outside.
Yeah, something like that. And, where the fuck was I going with that? Oh, and the Shooting the Shit episodes where we kind of just talk about everything kind of do the best in terms of watch time. So I'm like, okay, we'll keep doing that.
Yeah, well, whatever works best. And I mean, it's, gonna be like, you could have a break really soon where the algorithm's just like, hey, you know what, let's give this guy a break. And then suddenly you end up with thousands of views and you're just like, oh, shit.
Right. Well, I've got photographer, my girlfriend, managing my social media accounts for it now, which helps. But all it really takes is for somebody else with some kind of following, like they don't need to be Joe Rogan, like just somebody who's got like 100 followers on Instagram or something. If they just
to follow you.
It just takes, not to follow me even, all it takes is for somebody to recommend my video to somebody else who has an audience.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And for them to, the recommending thing, right? Because and I don't think I'm in the right market yet. There's a few of my subscribers that listen to podcasts regularly, but it is like the largest niche thing ever. Like the amount of people who listen to podcasts every day, especially here in the States, because you live in fucking England. I'm saying it like that, like I don't know it because the viewers need to know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think the accent's a big giveaway here.
Yeah, just a little bit. What was I gonna say? Oh, Joe Rogan. Obviously, he's the biggest podcast on Earth. Literally, the market exists. But when me and Guy first started, we kind of just like advertised it to his social media accounts and stuff. And I don't think any of those people really like listen to podcasts every day. So it's it's all it takes is getting it into the hands of the right target market, which I don't fucking know how to do yet. But when I do, this might go somewhere.
It's also about sizing yourself in the right places as well.
What do you mean?
Well, for instance, there's like, Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You could always actually do a live podcast on Facebook.
I could do live stuff.
I don't know how you'd go about it, but yeah, you could do something like that.
I'd have to talk to my technomancer to get that figured out. I have an Instagram account.
Yeah, Instagram you can like look up, certain trends and stuff, and then the people who are following. You can even just like follow them, just random people who have interests of like the same podcasts and stuff like that.
Huh.
That if they're following like, is it you said Josh Rogan? Sorry,
Joe Rogan.
Did you say?
You just said
Joe
Josh
Rogan.
Rogan.
Yeah, I'm awful with remembering names.
Well, it's just hilarious, the cultural difference. You know what I mean? Like this guy is technically one of the most famous people on Earth, right? But because you're across the pond, he's not that big of a celebrity there. Here, he's a comedian, he's an MMA commentator, he's the biggest podcast in the world, he's got all these things. He's a hunting advocator or whatever, but there it's just like, oh, my American friend talks about Josh Rogan all the time. Right?
Yeah.
I like talking to you sometimes just because of that different perspective on things.
Right, yeah.
I thought
it's definitely different. I think the craziest thing for me is just, because of how big America is and then like how small the UK is, like you have to friggin' fly to the next state and stuff. Whereas I could just get on a bus to go to like the closest city and stuff like that. It's it's really crazy. And
I think your
like the size of roads
in my
as well.
state, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird.
It's really, really weird.
Yeah.
Because, like, I see the size of your roads, it's like the lanes that you have on the interstate and stuff. There's like, 6 to 8 lanes or something?
Can be. Depends on what interstate or highway you're on.
Yeah, well, the motorway over here, because that's what we call it, it's, like, usually about 6 lanes, like 3 on each side, and then you've got, like, the side lane, I think, the hard shoulder or something, and basically, it's crazy how much space it takes up. It's a lot of money as well when you think about it.
It's very weird to think about how you're on an island. Like, there's an interesting connection I can make. So, here in the Midwest, we're relatively close to this huge segments of water called the Great Lakes. I don't know if you've heard of them before. But
the Great Lakes.
Yeah, if you go to the Great Lakes, it looks like you're at the ocean. You can't see the other side. It look like you could easily, like on a hot summer day, other than the fact that the sand here is really mixed with soil, so like it's brownish sand and not white sand. Other than that, you can't tell the difference in like the middle of the summer.
Besides it's not saltwater lake, is it?
No, yeah, I mean just visually you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it obviously doesn't go as deep. Not even a fraction of the size, that kind of stuff. But there's waves freaking in that shit, and you can definitely get to points where you can't see the bottom, and
Yeah.
shit like that.
God,
It's
deep
crazy.
water scares me.
Yeah, I don't like deep
Deep
water either.
water's a no-no.
Yeah,
The
no
funny
thanks.
thing is, I'm a lifeguard, or was a lifeguard until COVID.
That's funny as shit. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, imagine being me. I'm like, the two things I'm afraid of are like large arachnids, okay? The things with the legs, right? And
Yep.
falling from high places. Well,
Right.
I do yard work outside
Falling over.
and work on gutters on top of houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, it's great. Freaking amazing.
The irony.
The irony, yeah. The duality of man is what Badger would say.
Duality of man.
He kills me. He
Oh,
says that shit at the funniest moments too. It's really funny. Like he sent me one of those memes recently where it was I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like a bishop. It's like a Catholic bishop or something. And he's got this weird Snapchat filter on him, so like it's only his chin is like his face or something. And it zooms in on his chin. He's just like, "I am a holy, pious man. Nothing can corrupt me." And then like some guard walks in to the room, and he's just like, "There's some girl with daddy issues outside or something." And he's just like, "What? Where?" And runs out there or some shit. He sent me that, and then Badger was like, "The duality of man never ceases to amaze me." I'm just like, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite. Oh, I added something I wanted to connect to your interstate thing. You were talking about how much money it costs and stuff.
Yeah.
I heard this on a podcast I was listening to recently. You're gonna hear me say that a lot, by the way. That's where I get all my
All right.
shit is fucking podcasts. Our interstates, our major highways around the country, so we need more of them probably, and they could be designed a little bit better. Yeah, more just because of how much we have, like these big squares basically drawn around the country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you do.
How the fuck do you get to the middle of the squares? You have to take like an hour's worth of back roads to do that. However, what's cool about the interstates is they weren't even designed for us civilians. Did you know that?
What, they were like for heavy goods vehicles and such?
Yeah, they were for the military.
Right.
Yeah.
So they didn't expect it to like.
It turned into our way of life. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the United States always does shit like that. That's where the internet comes from. The United States military created the internet.
Yeah.
The United States military created the interstate system, which is now like the lifeblood of our country. Semi trucks moving shit from point A to point B, all over the place. Like,
they earn a lot of money.
Yeah, like
goods vehicle drivers. I couldn't do that though for a living.
Your sleep
sitting in
schedule
a
is
box
just so screwed up.
in traffic. Yeah, just like most of the day. Well, most of your job and life, you'd just
It's
be
most
sat
of your life, yeah.
Yeah, you'd just be sitting there.
The work
Earn a lot of
itself
money for
wouldn't
it,
bother me
yeah.
too much, to be totally honest. It's
Yeah.
that it takes up so much time.
Yeah.
That's what it was like when I was working at Walmart. The type of work wasn't like inherently that hard or anything. It's just doing that for like 10 hours a day, every day, you just kind of ended up feeling a little worthless at some point.
Yeah.
And so many people reassure me. They're like, "You're a college student. You're making
Right.
your way. You have a future." And I'm like, "Nah, bitch. I can't do this for another 5 minutes." Right? Like, I gotta go.
Yep. Like, yeah, retail really saps it out of you.
Oh yeah, for sure. And especially because it's like, not to sound like a communist or something, all right? But something that the commies talk about a lot, actually, in the Communist Manifesto, which, by the way, I finally got Anthony to read the Communist Manifesto. Finally.
All right.
Took long enough.
How did he react?
He didn't react badly. I think he agrees with most of it. It's just, for a while there, he was proprieting communism, and I would quote the Communist Manifesto to a communist that hasn't read the Communist Manifesto when arguing with him. Right? You see the problem there?
Yeah.
So that's been fixed. He's read it. We're good.
Right.
But in the Communist Manifesto, something they talk on a bit is how large corporations like kind of desensitize the workers to their work. They make the work as impersonal as possible, or unpersonal, however the fuck you say that.
Right. Okay.
So like, like at Walmart, I couldn't take pride in my work, right? I didn't
Yeah.
have my own workspace. I didn't have
hmm
my own.
Office kind of thing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was
None of it was
everything was
personal.
shared. And, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
You know,
because
did you have your own lockers at least? Or
you
not
did,
even?
but they're so small and useless that it was kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
like
See,
yeah, it
I
wasn't
used to
good.
work at this place. Like it was retail. Oh my. The staff room was literally like a 5 by 5 meter box. It was minute. There was a
Mm.
sink, there was one table, and like I think there were 2 or 3 chairs. So like if there were a lot of people working, we'd usually have like what 8 to 10 people. No, about 14 people working throughout the day,
Mm.
and you can't imagine like how bad
Everybody
it
taking
was.
their lunch break
We
at the
had
same time with
Yeah,
three chairs.
the lunch break had to be split, and it was really tedious because, like, there were people doing different jobs, and you'd have to like ensure that there was always going to be someone on tills and
Oh
someone
yeah.
on freestyle, and
Well, yeah, like
like
it's hard to make
yeah,
friends with your coworkers in those environments because you can't take lunch breaks at the same time and like hang out in the off time or anything, and like it sucks.
yeah.
It really sucks.
And the thing is with work, like I always say that work you need to make friends. You can't really not make friends. You know
Yeah,
how
when
people say,
you
"Oh,
either make
work's
friends or
work."
enemies when you go to work.
Yeah,
One or the
people
other.
say work's work, and honestly, I don't think it is like that
Nope.
because you've got to enjoy it to work there. Otherwise, you're just gonna move on to another job.
So
You
there,
can't just
yeah, I
do that.
agree with what you're saying completely, especially in retail. There are types of jobs to the contrary, but that's a different kind of
Yeah,
job. Like there are solo jobs, right?
yeah,
There's contracting work that you can do on your own, like those kind of things.
mhm,
Those are literally just grinding and working. You can do
yeah,
that, put in the hours, make a shit ton of money, go home, and then make friends, right? But
hmm
in a retail or office space, when you spend every fucking day with the same people all day long, you're
and doing like
yeah.
really tedious, awful jobs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you want to make
And
friends with those
hopefully
people,
it
you
makes
want to
it worse.
joke around, you want to be
hmm
social. Or in a lot of cases you become worst freaking enemies with them because you don't jive right. Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I told you, but the place I worked at before Walmart, ABC Warehouse, I had a special needs coworker try to stab me with a pocket knife.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I heard about that one.
Oh god, he was on like antipsychotic medications and had all these various issues and stuff. And I was a psychology major back then, so the whole time while I was watching him, I'm just like, "Fuck, this is not this ain't it, chief." Like the whole time. And
Where am I working at again?
yeah, like you start
This
talking.
isn't survival of the
Yeah, and
fittest.
I was making minimum wage. So like I know you don't use the same currency, right?
Right.
But like right now, I'm not gonna say the exact amount I make on fucking the podcast, but like right
hmm
now I'm making between $12 and $16 an hour. Okay.
Yeah,
Back then I made $7.25.
not worth it.
That's half.
Not worth it.
That's half. Right.
When you've got to deal with a psychotic like
That's
coworker as
way
well as the
way less than
customers.
half. Oh yeah. No, it was awful. Some perks of the job were all my other coworkers were awesome. Everybody
Right.
else was awesome, but I was like a stock boy. I worked in the back warehouse, and so did he.
hmm
And I was stuck with him for the vast majority of the time, and had to deal with his shit the vast majority of the time.
Right.
And also they like kind of turned my position into a janitorial position while I was there without consulting me about it and without
hmm
hiring me for that position. So I thought I was getting hired to move boxes, and I ended up having to scrub like toilets and shit. I'm like, are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me? And I ended up getting out of there. That's when I went to Walmart, which like Walmart's not great, right? But comparatively
Right.
speaking, thank God. Like, that was amazing.
It kind of reminds me of when I was working at my last retail job. I don't ever want to go back into retail.
Me either, never again.
Honestly, a nightmare. Um, but yeah, it's like because I had a lot of years behind me in retail. when I first started working there, I actually helped build up the place as well,
Right.
with all the shelving and walls and stuff, um, because it was a new store. And once it got up and running, I was in the warehouse doing a lot of warehouse work because I knew what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the manager, like, he really liked me because, I knew what I was doing and I was helping people out and stuff. But then he literally like waved this assistant manager like spot in front of me, and it was like, like, you can get this if you keep on doing what you're doing. You're a really good worker and stuff. And then I think it turned out like I came up to work one day and this other guy's just here, and I'm like, okay, so who's this guy? He's like, oh, this is our new assistant manager.
Oh
And
God.
I just looked. I was just like, are you kidding me?
Was it
And
a
like, I
was it a
didn't
mega
say this, but
corporation like kind of like Walmart? Was it a huge?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so when this happened, I was just like, it's kind of demoralizing.
Mm-hmm.
But also, he expected me to keep on doing all these jobs, which were basically what the assistant manager should have been doing.
Yep.
The assistant manager was actually asking me how to do certain things,
Oh
and
God.
I just like, yeah, honestly,
Yeah. So
it was,
basically, you ended up having, to a certain extent, having to train the guy who stole your position from
yeah,
you. It's like, yeah. So these mega corporations, the way I see it, set up these systems to try to have as little conflict of interest as possible, and by doing that, create the most amount of conflict of interest and workplace friction.
yeah,
So like, how do I explain it? So like at Walmart, for instance, if you got promoted to a department manager, right? It could not be the
hmm
department you've always worked in. You had to like go somewhere else in the store because your subordinates, your coworkers cannot turn into your subordinates even if you earned it.
right,
They don't ever want that to happen, and so because of that,
yeah,
if there's a job you like to work, too fucking bad. If you make it to management position, you got to go somewhere else and do a different kind of job.
yeah,
And so there's that, and then if you get to like top tier management, they send you to another fucking store.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
and that
I've
that
seen
just
quite a
sucks.
few managers in the
It
past
just
go.
it just
Yeah.
sucks. What else happened? Yeah, I mean that's I haven't had a lot of great work experiences. I'd say what I'm doing right now, this kind of like contracting work. It's not contract. I don't it just I'm working with gutters and siding and stuff right now, and
Yeah.
it's way more enjoyable. And I'm working for like people I know, like the boss of the entire company. I can call on my cell phone,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
nice. It's way more personal and uh, just yeah, it's not as disingenuous. It's not a crony corporation.
Yeah, you don't have to go up the ranks to try and talk to
Get
someone
something
you need
done.
to talk to.
Right. And there's not all these like weird protocols and shit either, which is nice.
Yeah.
But some of the best work I ever did was for myself. I'm not gonna lie. That kind of turned me ambitious a little bit, and I definitely have
Yeah.
aspirations to own shit someday. Cause it's just like,
I did
yeah,
from working for myself. That was nice. It's just
amazing.
the the problem was for me were there weren't enough of the work at the time,
Yeah.
and I just didn't know how to, go about expanding. Basically,
Right. So I tried.
it was like I was
Yeah.
doing dog walking and like houseboard, and then I was doing like just loads of gardening. It was just like a load of different things.
Odd
It was
jobs.
like
Yeah.
multiple jobs, and yeah, it was just obviously the gardening's mostly like seasonal.
Mhm.
So during summertime, it was like I was getting loads of work.
Right.
But then, soon as like fall and what do you call it? Fall and
Winter.
is it just winter for you?
Yeah. What the fuck do you call it?
Yeah. Well, we've got spring, summer, autumn, and winter.
Okay. Why wouldn't? Bitch. The seasons are the seasons. How? Would you, what the fuck else do you
No,
think
but
it was?
because you've got fall. You've got fall
Oh.
and
Yeah. Autumn
I
and
don't
fall
know
are the
if you.
same thing. They're the same thing for us.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Autumn and
So,
fall are the
is there
same thing.
anything else,
Nope.
or is spring spring?
It winter turns into spring, spring, fall, fall, winter, and continues.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so it's just fall.
However, if
Yeah.
the seasonal problem is what I ran into as well. Winter came
Mhm.
and I went from probably able to support myself completely to
Yeah.
completely screwed, no work. Had to up my
Yeah.
hours at Walmart. And then that made me want to get out of Walmart because spending that much time there, I was just like, fuck this place. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. It's just what it is, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
Well, it
you
wouldn't.
know what.
There,
Well,
there can be shitty work, right? But when there's a breakdown in values between management and the normal workers, right? So
right.
like, I did this thing called near the end there. I was doing this thing called OGP, online grocery pickup,
Right.
and I was shit at picking groceries, like my times, because they time you while you pick groceries for people. I had a really bad
Right.
grocery picking time, but I was really good at dispensing out to people, taking it to their cars and getting people out of the fucking parking lot, because you're getting timed during that too. Yeah, yeah. And I was really good at that. And if they find out you're good at something, right? Like for starters, you and all your coworkers get paid the exact same because you're paid
Yeah.
by how long you've been there and by the position, not based on your performance.
Right.
So me, who's like working my ass off dispensing, makes the same amount or probably less than the guy in the corner who like kind of just shows up to work, stacks a few totes and leaves,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
Yeah. That's very demoralizing.
well, that sucks. But when they find out you're good at something, they expect more out of you. They expect you to get more done, and it will also take manpower away from you. They'll take away your help because like, you're good at this, you can handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's happened with me when I was working in the warehouse.
and that
I was
just
the only
sucks.
one in the warehouse all the time,
Yep.
and it's meant to be 3 people in the warehouse. But because I was that good at it, it was like, yeah, you're gonna go on your own, and you're gonna work your ass off for us.
Yep, I was meant to have 4 or 5 people, and it would be two of us. So
Yeah,
it's like, all right. And
it's
then in the
not
early
fun.
hours of the morning, like the first 2 hours of dispensing, it would like only be me and my manager or my team lead, because they demoted everybody from department managers into team leads. I think their pay got demoted, their authority got demoted, everything got like kind of stripped from them. Because there's always been a joke about Walmart that there's more managers than there is normal employees, and that wasn't totally wrong. But I don't think you can just strip people of their pay and shit like they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But again, my team lead would be back there with me, and she would help a lot. Like she worked her ass off. I'm not gonna lie. But the problem is, she had a shit ton of other responsibilities than just that. So like
right.
every 5 minutes she'd get pulled away to do something else, or like have to disappear to go do something else, and I'd get fucked all morning long basically. Because you gotta have like 5 people, and I'm one person, right?
Yeah. See, I did a lot of different like jobs in retail. So you've got like the first aisle where it's basically making sure everything's faced up, everything's like clean and tidy, because that's the first aisle that everybody's gonna see when they walk in.
Right.
So you've got to make sure that that's like immaculate,
Walmart calls
and
that
you're
zoning.
kind of like the security guard as well. Like
Ooh.
you're the first on the lines, and it's like obviously you don't really have security guard power because there weren't
Yep.
any security guards there.
That's what we call AP,
like-
asset protection.
Yeah.
Sucks.
So, like there was that role. Then there was obviously the just stocking everything up, like stocking shelves and stuff,
Mhm.
taking the totes back, and then there were like the first till. First tills where you've got the tannoy as well, and you've got to make the announcements. And
Oh yeah, I hate that shit.
boy, I had some fun with that.
Yeah, you enjoyed that?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but half of the time, like because it's so stressful when you're like one of the only ones on,
Oh
and you've
yeah.
got like angry customers because like they always come to you first, and it's like they come and it's like, I got this item and I'm not happy with it.
Like,
I want to
fix
speak
this
to your
shit.
manager, and
Yeah.
then you've got like a huge queue that's queuing up. You got to ask for more people to
Oh,
go on the
yeah.
tills, and you're understaffed, and you're just like, oh my god. But so sometimes I literally just I press the button, ready to speak, and I just started laughing in the mic for the whole stop.
That's funny as shit.
Like,
So, yeah.
I never like. They were totally cool with it, but like you'd see the whole store just like looking around and laughing,
Right.
and I loved it. It was brilliant.
No, that is
But
funny, and I'm glad you had a good time with that. At Walmart, the way that worked, the overhead is what they called it. Like,
right,
nobody like really trained you how to use it or anything like that. It would always be like managers are dealing with a disgruntled customer, and they're like, "Get on the overhead and say this." Or some shit, and you're like, I don't want to fucking do that. You know what I mean? Like, and nobody wanted that. But oh god, yeah. If you want to talk about lines queuing up and stuff, most of my time at Walmart, I actually worked in the lawn and garden department. The OGP thing was like just what I did at the end. And in lawn and garden, everybody, all the alcoholics, try to get the alcohol out that way because they think there won't be a line. So they all
Right.
grab like their 6-packs or like these huge fucking cases of beer and shit and come running. And well, in my state, you can't sell alcohol to people until you turn 19.
Right.
I was 18, and all these people would get up to the counter and be like, I'd be like, I'm sorry, sir, I can't ring you up for this, and I'm the only person back here right now. I'm not old enough or something. And I've had people throw entire cases of beer at me before. They get so angry. I've had somebody break a wine bottle once. A lot of people just like, I see how pissed they are when they get all the way up to the counter, so I try telling them before they get up to the counter, right? And I've seen somebody walking with like 2 cases of beer, one in each arm, and I tell him, "Hey, I can't ring you up here," and he just like dropped them on the floor and walked out the room. Like, didn't even look at me or acknowledge me or anything. I'm like, God damn, bro, chill. And just stuff like that. And then you've got and then you've got people who like bring all of their like the 20 people families that'll bring like 3 carts worth of groceries out there because they're like, oh, I bet there's no lines out here, right?
Yeah.
And everybody thinks that, so it just fucks everything over. And then there's Karens. Don't even get me started. I'm not going to talk about Karens.
No,
Yeah,
you don't
no
talk
Karens.
about Karen.
Yeah, they're not it. But yeah, just shit like that. And that queuing up sucks. And plus, I was a teenage kid that was not good at running a register, not till about the end of it. And I'd be like the only person back there for like 10 hours at a time, especially on the weekends. And yeah. And I just like, yeah, it was rough. Yeah, let's stop talking about retail now.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Swiftly moving on.
I'm gonna reference it because I think it's funny, but still I'm gonna apologize. I'm sorry every time you're in a party with your British friends I start talking about politics. I know it's a bit of a problem.
It really kills me inside.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind it every now and again, but it's like...
I don't even think you dislike the subject. I think you hate how it takes everybody's attention away from the game, so you like start getting murdered in Warzone and shit. Because they're all like...
well...
Yeah, because you got your British friends like, mate, what do you think of Trump right now? Like some shit. And, me, I'm just sitting there, like, I don't even talk about it at first. They bring it up, and I'm like, all right, this motherfucker. Right? And I just start, yeah.
I'm just gonna leave now.
Yeah, exactly. And the way they reacted to me having guns was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not a big thing over here. Like, I can actually get I can get a gun, but I've got to go through the authorities. They do like a background check to see if you're mentally stable for one and shit.
Right.
And then they'll like ask you if you've got a good enough reason, like if you're gonna go to like a shooting range or if it's for like personal use on like private land if you're a farm owner or something.
Right.
So I potentially could get one. Like, what I find interesting is I can get a suppressor easier than you can over there.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
what
not
are
looked into it. I just that's
but
what I've
Baron,
heard.
what are you gonna suppress, dog? Your shotgun? You guys can like only get shotguns. Relative, last I checked, it's
I
mainly just
don't
shotguns.
think
I think the only
I
time you
don't
get
think
to
it's true.
the
I
only
could
time you
get an
get
M4. I
yeah,
can
but
get an
you have to
M4,
be
but
part
I'd
of
have
like the
4 in a
rifle
mag.
club, right? I thought if you wanted an
Um,
M4, you had to be like a part of a club and like shoot competitively or some shit. I think that's what you told me when we were looking into it that one day.
think it could be right, but at the end of the day, a gun is still a gun.
Oh no, it's not. It's not, and we can get into this. So
Go on then.
right, like it's
I
weird.
know that some weapons can only use like the
Yeah.
smallest of caliber or something. It's like
Well,
a
it's
is
not
it
even
four
just
four four
caliber.
five or something?
Nah, some of the smallest calibers. It's not the smallest, but some of the smallest normal calibers are 22. 22 is the smallest
22.
caliber. What's interesting about that is M4s shoot 22s. It's just the 5.56 round. The tip's the same size as a
Right.
22. It just has so much more gunpowder behind it.
Well, I've got a pellet gun that shoots 2.2.
Yep, yep. So it doesn't
Yeah.
have the gunpowder that like does the same thing, right? But yeah,
Oh, like I could
right.
go hunting for like pigeons and stuff.
Yeah.
I could shoot them.
Well,
It's
honestly,
just
that's all an actual 22 is good for either. So
yeah.
like, but they're fun.
Get an M4 just to shoot
Yeah,
pigeons.
22s are fun because like it's still a gun, but it's really
Yeah.
not like you don't want to shoot somebody with it, obviously. But
Yeah.
like the chances of killing somebody with it if you don't just like shoot them in a vital spot are actually like pretty low. It's gonna hurt. You need to go to
Yeah.
the hospital like immediately if you get shot
Mhm.
with a 22. But depending on the range and depending on where you get shot, it's just so much less lethal compared to other guns.
It depends on how powerful the spring is. I think like
That's in your
is
pellet
it
gun, yeah.
is it PPR or something like pressure per inch or
Square
something?
inch.
PPI.
Yeah. Pressure per square inch.
Um,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, PSI. That's the one.
Yeah.
I think it is it like 25 or something. I think it's the legal limit for a pellet gun is like something up to like 25 or something.
See, like,
And
think about the
some that
culture.
shoot.
Yeah, like we don't have legal limits on our pellet guns and airsoft guns. I mean, like, there's probably a legal limit you can sell it at, right? But
Yeah.
there's nothing illegal about me changing that limit once it's in my hands. I can modify it in any
Right.
way I see fit. Yeah. Like they definitely aren't regulating pellet guns when, I mean, I own an AR for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? And I didn't have to do any paperwork for it either. They ran a background check and that's it. Have you committed any crimes? No. All right, here you go. Basically.
That's pretty much it. You
Yep.
could literally go to Walmart and buy a weapon, can't you?
Used to. You used to.
Used to be able to.
Our corporations
Have they
here in
gone a
this
bit more strict now?
yeah, our corporation. It's not because they can't legally do it. It's because they chose not to. So,
Right.
I'm 18 in my state. I can buy firearms and ammo for said firearms. It's completely legal.
Right.
Don't need a license to do that, depending on the type of firearm. But places like Walmart have a rule that you can only buy it when you're 21. That's up to them, though.
Right, okay.
Right? They won't sell it to you unless you're 21, even though legally I'm allowed to when I'm 18.
Right.
Right.
See, I would love to own a weapon, and like even if it. So there's guns that I don't know how you say it, but it's like guns that are made so they can't shoot. Is it
Can't
decommissioned
shoot?
or something?
Oh.
Yeah. So like
Yeah, like for instance, you can
they
you can
take
buy
out, like,
tanks
the
here
lever
in the
from it.
United States. You can buy tanks here, and they're decommissioned
Yeah.
tanks so that they can't shoot anything. It's basically just a vehicle on treads. But yeah,
Yeah. Right. Like I'd love to just buy one of those if I could.
a tank.
I don't know if I'm even allowed to. Not a
Probably
tank, a weapon.
So, I mean, what's very interesting about my country compared to yours is my country is a
Mhm.
gun culture. About 50% of us isn't
Right.
anymore. They're way more like you than they are
Yeah.
like me in that sense, right? But we were
Mhm.
founded in firearms. We were founded in, you want our shit, come take it. Right? That's kind of
Yeah.
yeah, and the big argument in my country right now is whether or not that still reigns true. I want military firepower for if the military's turned against me. That's how libertarians and conservatives view the issue. While Democrats or liberals, the more left-leaning individuals, are kind of like people are not inherently like good enough to have this firepower. It's dangerous for civilians to have it. I'm trying to say their point of view without just like totally smashing on them right now.
Right.
Yeah, and they don't think it's safe enough to be in civilian hands. And I've had lots of conversations with left-leaning people, not leftists. There's a huge difference between a leftist and a left-leaner. A left-leaner is somebody who just votes the opposite of me. A leftist is like a radical kind of fuck those people. And fuck alt-right people too.
You see a lot of radicals in America though, don't you?
Well, kind of. What's weird about it is there's 300 and like
compared to over here.
Well, per capita, maybe not. That's the weird thing. So when you look at like the amount of knife crime and chemical crime and stuff in your major cities, per person, you might have more crime than us. Now, if you look at major, because there's 365 million of us, right?
Yeah.
So like, when the vast majority of the population doesn't break the law, then yeah. However, we do have access to higher amounts of firepower. So like knife crime in Britain is a problem because you guys can't get guns. Well, we can get guns here, so one person is capable of more than one person over there, right? So there's that to consider.
Ratios.
Yeah, but then we have a problem with high crime areas. I'm sure your major metropolitan cities are like that too. But like we have this issue where the vast majority of crime happens in specific places, generally. Like that's a generalization. That doesn't mean that murder doesn't happen in the suburbs, right? But it can.
Yeah. See, in Manchester and London, I know that there's higher and increasing, I believe, rates of, like these people on mopeds who are stealing other people's bikes whilst they're literally on the streets of Manchester and London.
Yep.
It's basically, they have two people on one moped. Just
somebody hops off and takes
looking for a
moped,
Someone jumps off, and then they kick the other person off, like, their vehicle.
Grand Theft Auto, yeah.
Like, it's literally GTA.
Yeah, but that's what the game's named after. There's a type of crime called Grand Theft Auto, and it's stealing an automotive vehicle.
Yeah.
And so they named the game that because that's like one of the major premises of the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying it literally is like GTA.
Yeah, basically. GTA Online, basically.
No, there's a lot more explosives than that.
For sure.
I wouldn't go ahead and say more assholes, though. I'm pretty sure the world.
Well, a lot more. There's a direct correlation between population density and crime. That's just how it works. The more people you get living right on top of each other, the more crime there is. That's just it be that way. Now,
and there's probably a higher chance of you getting away with the crime.
It can be. It depends on how you do it. If you're in a super crime-ridden area where there's not a lot of police, then yeah. I'm
just thinking about
issues where police are overwhelmed all the time too. When the police are overwhelmed and our response times are like a half hour, I'm sorry, man, but if somebody's breaking into your house with a lethal weapon and it takes a half hour for the police to get there, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot more lax, but this is where I'm gonna say the surveillance over here is crazy.
Well, I think London is one of the most surveillance cities on Earth, isn't it?
I
think it's like
believe
number
so.
2 or 3 or something. Beijing is number 1, I think.
Oh, I know that it's like right up there. It's in the top 3, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've been there once or twice. I think. How many times have I been in London? I think I went once with college. I think I've been about 3-4 times, and every time I've been, it's like, there's a lot of cameras everywhere. and there'll be a lot that I've not even seen as well.
Here,
Hidden
yeah.
cameras.
Hold up, I'm not sharing it with you, it's just for the viewers, but I'm looking up the population of London right now.
Uh-huh.
And oh man, it's not working.
Ah, shit.
Big sad. Okay. Well, I got a new toy for the podcast recently where I can pull whatever I'm looking at on browsers and stuff onto
Alright.
the screen, and it's not working. Whatever. So right now the population of London. Oh, these must be predictions. This says the year 2035. Okay. Didn't ask about 2035. I'd like to know. According to the
world's
census,
not
the
gonna
population
exist
of
by
London
then.
was 8 million people. 8 million, like
Was.
almost 200,000. Well, yeah, because it's gone up since then.
Surprised it's not gone down with COVID.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But what's the pop of Chicago? Because, you talk about Manchester and London and stuff, the only big city I know of really is Chicago. That's like the largest city in the Midwest. Chicago.
Right.
Holy shit. So how much did I say for London? It's not going to
go? You said 8 million, and then
yeah,
it's going to increase by 200.
It's like almost 8.2 million.
Yeah.
Wow. Chicago doesn't even compare to London. Holy shit. Chicago's only got like...
Really?
It's coming up on 3 million.
What?
Wow.
What? That's mental.
That is mental. But when you think about how many large cities we have around the country, that's why. We don't just have like 2 or 3 huge cities. Like Los Angeles is the size of small third world countries. That's in California. Yeah.
I'd definitely say that London's probably the most populous city in the world, though.
You think it's...
I can't think of... Maybe New York?
Nah,
maybe New York,
I think definitely somewhere in Asia probably has a larger population. Let me look.
Oh no, I'm not on about population though. I'm on
popular.
about mostly known.
Oh.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. Most popular city in the world. Yeah, London's up top, then it's New York. Then it's Paris.
Yeah, New
then
York.
It's Paris, then it's Moscow. Going down like
that. I imagine Paris, yeah.
Well, you want to know something kind of creepy that like nobody fucking knows about?
Go on.
So, in terms of like population stuff, you know how China's got like 1 billion people in it?
Uh-huh.
And so does India. I think India's got a higher population than China now. But
oh my god.
Yeah. China specifically has like damn near 10 megacities that like all have more than like 3 million people in them each. And we don't like the general public does not even know these cities exist. We only know of like Beijing and Hong Kong, and which Hong Kong's not part of China. Don't freak the fuck out on me. It is and it isn't. I get it. Free Hong Kong.
Right.
Yeah. But like Hong Kong, Beijing, Shanghai, stuff like that, right? Like we only know those cities. Wow.
Well, there's like 10.
There's like 10 of them
that we don't even know about, and they've got like 3 million people in them.
Like I'm sure we could look it up, like on the internet, right? But like
they probably
don't know
want
them.
To know.
Yeah, they probably don't really want you to know all that much about them. But like, here, let me list of largest cities in China. China. Alright, so yeah, the second largest city in China is Macau. Have you ever heard of Macau? Yeah, have you ever heard
I have.
I haven't.
I have.
How about Chongqing? Have you heard of Chongqing?
Chongqing.
That's the 4th largest city in China. I've never fucking heard of that.
Chongqing or Chongqing?
It's Chongqing, I think.
Oh, get mixed up.
Yeah,
here. Ching.
Where's the proper list? Okay, here
Chongqing.
Their largest city.
Yeah.
Their largest city, Hong Kong. Second largest city, Macau or whatever. I've never heard of that before. Third largest
Yeah, I've
city.
heard of Macau before.
Yeah,
I
have
can't
not.
remember why. Why have I heard of that?
Beijing is the third largest city, which is expected. Thought it would be number 2, but then Chongqing is 4th. I'm like, what the fuck is Chongqing? Shanghai is the 5th. What? Shanghai is the 5th largest city? What? Right?
Oh.
And then
I guess they'll be expanding as well, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Hong Kong and Macau, they're not Chinese cities, even though they are. So these big communist utopian countries, or not utopian. I said that sarcastically for those listening. These are special economic zones. These big communist places, they make special economic zones, in quotes, where it's kind of like a city-state. You know, city-states in like the game Civilization?
Right.
They are able to govern themselves, but ultimately they have to answer to the Communist Party. So
wait, so
Hong Kong and Macau are their own countries. They're their own countries, but they're like vassals to China.
So they don't have to bend to the government's will, or
they have to. That's what all the stuff with Hong Kong's been going on. But they're allowed to make their own laws and do their own things. The reason they're called special economic zones is because China lets them run their economy the way they want.
Right. So is there like a leader for them, or is it like?
Yeah, they probably all have councils, because that's how China does it. They've got like a big reigning council, everything with President Pooh as the leader. Yeah. His name's not actually President Pooh, but he looks like Winnie the Pooh. So, if you say that in China, by the way, you get like legal repercussions.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
I wonder how many countries are actually ran by the mafia, though.
In China?
That'd be an interesting one. Yeah.
They're one and the same. There was a Russian mafia that ran almost all of Russia for a long time before Putin.
Yeah.
Especially in the major
before
cities.
Putin.
Yeah, and
make him sound like some superhero or something before Putin, alright?
It depends on how you look at it. So, like, Putin's evil. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He's terrifying, but he sure as fuck brought law and order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess sometimes you need that evil to, like, a necessary evil for
Well, kinda. There's an Italian philosopher called Machiavelli. He's the guy who was quoted saying the ends justify the means, right?
Yeah.
It depends on your opinion, honestly. It's very much so in the eye of the beholder. Like, I would rather live in Putin's Russia than in the Soviet mafia Russia, right?
Right.
There's a whole lot less starvation going on, but Putin runs a military dictatorship. Neither are good.
Yeah.
They're like the Slavic
it's
Federation.
Better than the
Yeah.
It's better than the first evil that there were, though.
Oh yeah, way better than communism. Now they're just socialists. No. They're a socialist military dictatorship, and for Anthony's sake, because he'd get upset if I misrepresented socialism, he's not running the utopian idea of socialism. He's not a democratic socialist. He's a militaristic socialist. They're way more like the Nazis without the genocide than they are. Than they are like commies. But commies had the genocide too, so again, it depends on perspective. That got dark really quick. We were talking about population of cities, now we're talking about killing them all. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what happens, man, when I start looking at statistics and shit. The rabbit hole just goes on forever. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had something I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember it for the life of me right now, and it was like quite an interesting subject, and I wish I could remember it. Maybe it could be one for another talk, but
I mean, if it comes back to you during the convo, yeah, just let me know and we'll steer off of whatever we're on.
Yeah.
Yep. What was I gonna say? We both said that's great.
I think it's come back to me.
Alright.
Movies now are a lot like, I don't like them compared to the older movies, like say 10-15 years ago.
Well, aren't they all like fucking politically charged now?
Well, that's what I'm getting at. It's like, I think a lot of them have to be politically correct. Like, there's, because so many people like get fucking offended by every little thing. So like, if say there's not like I don't I don't know where to go with this, but like maybe I've seen a lot of like gay
Oh, there we go.
couples in a lot of recent like series and stuff that
Right.
I've watched, whereas like 10, 15 years ago it'd be a rare thing to see, and it's like it feels way too
Forced.
forced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just it feels so forced to just see all that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, we want to be seen, but like we want to be seen everywhere, kind of thing now.
Right. Yeah,
And
I have a lot to
also,
say about that. I'll let you finish your subject.
with CGI and stuff, and there's that many more people out there who are making films.
Oh yeah.
The quality overall of films
It's
have
just
has just like
gone to shit.
plummeted, and yeah, they literally like just shooting out films for the fun of it. Like
Yeah.
there's big companies and stuff that'll make a film, and then a year later they've come out with a new one. Whereas like back then, it'd take them time and resources, where they'd spend a lot more time thinking about, how the film's gonna go, and it, I honestly enjoy them so much more. Like,
You know,
yeah,
yeah,
um,
some of the best films were the ones where like we had to work around technological limitations.
yeah, and I think that
Yeah.
them limitations that since they've now been took away, it's kind of killed the movie
Oh
industry,
yeah.
or at least not not like killed it, but it's really dulled it for me. Like I used to be excited to see films,
Mhm.
and you'd sometimes be waiting like years just to watch this one film, and then when you see it, you're just like, damn, that was good. Like you never really come out of a movie theater or anything, and were like, damn, that was a really shit film until recently.
Well,
That
I
like
don't get hyped up for movies like I do video games. You know what I mean?
there.
Like the
Yeah,
entertainment is so
same thing
much.
goes for
Yeah,
yeah,
scratches the
same thing
same
goes for
itch,
them.
but they're completely one is so much more valuable than the other. So like
Yeah,
video games, especially if they're online, can keep you entertained for thousands of hours.
yep,
A movie keeps you entertained for like 2.5 if you're lucky.
yeah,
Yep, and that's about it. I mean, and, you got the technological limitations and stuff. Like the art of screenplay is totally taken a hit because of our technological advancement. So like
hmm
in sci-fi, you didn't see these massive ass space battles, right? That wasn't a thing
yeah,
because we didn't have a way to properly represent all of
yeah.
the different ships and their fleet maneuvers and stuff. Instead, what you had were a bunch of actors in a hallway, somebody on the overcom like incoming missile, right? And everybody
I
fucking
guess
flies
the
into the
best
wall.
thing,
Yeah.
I bet the best way to explain it is Star Wars, like
Oh
the
yeah.
way they did it.
Well,
Like
the new Star Wars
that,
movies were awful. I don't know how you feel about that, but I fucking
yeah,
hated them.
yeah. There was too much. It was like too much of we want to show space, we want to
Yeah.
show what we can do,
They
and
wanted to get as grand and as crazy as
yeah,
possible, and it
yep.
just wasn't good.
Quickly though, I want to go on what you just touched with the games.
Yeah.
Is games nowadays they all like most of them are not fully finished before they come out. They're always coming out as betas and
Oh yeah.
alphas and all this. And
AAA games get away
honestly,
with so
it's
much stupid
killing it.
shit. It's so
It's
bad.
ruining it. I absolutely hate it.
Well, it's
Like
that and
this
microtransactions, man. Between those two things,
yeah.
it's too much.
Well, this new game that come out, Monster Hunter Rise, I told you about it a few
Yeah.
days ago. I've been playing that a lot, and the problem is, like, it came out as a fully priced game, and the story wasn't even finished. And even now, they brought out like a month later, they bring out DLC, and it's still not even completed the story. I'm still waiting to find out, about the story, and
Ooh.
this is literally months down the line.
Yeah, it
The
sucks.
game itself is brilliant, but
That's so
you
intentional
know,
though. They don't complete the story because they want you to be hyped for the completion of the story so that you can buy the rest of the game you already bought.
br- make a complete game and then bring out DLC that like
Yeah.
might add on to the story. Don't just not finish the main story of the game.
Yeah, tell me
Imagine if
about
they
it.
did that with Call of Duty. Like they bring out half a campaign and then they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you the other half in 2 months. People would be screaming about that.
Well, they would have
They'd
a
be
few
so
years
pissed.
ago. Now we're seeing Call of Duty games that don't have campaigns in them. Black Ops 3, I don't think had a campaign or something. It's happening.
I don't know.
Oh, Black Ops 3 had a campaign. I think Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign. Are they up to 4 of those fucking things now? I stopped buying them after 2.
They're on 4.
Yeah, I stopped
They're on
buying
Black
it
Ops
after
1.
2.
Black Ops 1 was really good. Black
Yep.
Ops 2 was good.
Yep.
Black Ops 3, I think, got a bit weird, and then Black Ops 4, I'm sure there was a story for it,
I
but it
didn't
was
even
like
buy
it went
3,
off
dude.
the rails.
I didn't even buy 3. Well, you know, back to movies a little bit. There's 2 things I want to talk about actually. So, for starters, with like the gay stuff and the racial stuff in movies, they specifically try their best to like be inclusive of stuff. And a lot of that's just kowtowing. It's like the actual opinions of the cinematographers and like directors and stuff doesn't matter at all. It's mainly just like be inclusive so we can hit as many audiences as possible. Right.
Yeah.
And like for instance, there should definitely be gay people in entertainment and in media. However, it should like this has always been my argument. I don't not want these people in certain things. I think it should be realistic though, right? So like they're like a very small percentage of the population. So like a show that did it really well was like The Walking Dead, for instance. There's a gay couple in The Walking Dead. There's one gay couple in The Walking Dead. Seems pretty legit to me. It doesn't there doesn't need to be a hard cap, but like be realistic about it. If everybody was fucking gay, the human race would die because we couldn't reproduce. like seriously, like that's nothing against gay folks at all. It's science, right?
It's just science.
And,
facts.
Yeah, and like just be realistic about it, and then I don't have a problem. Like for instance, the thing with black folks, for instance, I have 0 problems with a black protagonist. That's fine. I mean, at least write him good, right? Like don't make him fucking Locke from Halo 5. Dear God. But as long as he's well written and a likable dude, right, or she, whatever, that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
However, you can't make like more than half of the cast black depending on the setting of the story because let's be honest, the vast majority of the entertainment industry is done in the United States, right? Well, black folks are 14% of the population. So when you make 50% of people in movies black, that's not representative of the population, depending on the setting. If the setting is in a big metropolitan big population density area where most of the black population is, sure, makes total sense. If it's out in...
And if it was about Martin Luther King or something.
Yeah. Or just
depends
anything.
On the subject
just,
as
like,
well.
as long as it matches the setting and the statistical data, right? But when it's like some Midwestern high school where there's like very few black folks in the area, right? Just because there's not many of them live there, right? And like 50% of the school is black. It's like that doesn't make any sense. It's just not. It's not an accurate representation of reality. It's not.
It's like, wait a minute.
and then a few years ago, if you made all the high school kids gay, that wouldn't be an accurate statistic either. Now, seeing what I saw in high school, yeah, they should all of the women should be bisexual and 50% of the men should be gay, probably. That's what it was like when I was in high school, and it's because these people aren't really these things. I'm sure plenty of them are actually legit, but most of it's people experimenting, trying to figure out who the fuck they are.
Experimenting.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another argument of like, I think that people are like the whole being gay, and there's trans, there's all the different genres.
Being gay is okay now, so now it's trans. That's the thing that people test out now is trans, because gay is totally okay, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think that because it's been brought to light too much, it has people questioning themselves too much as well.
Oh yeah. Don't even get me started on the psychological evidence to pry that. Like, so you've heard of multiple personality disorder before, obviously.
Yeah. We won't go there.
We're not going to get into details, but I don't want the viewers thinking you have multiple personality disorder. Baron does not have multiple personality disorder, for anybody listening. We just know somebody that does. Okay. With that out of the way, multiple personality disorder is like generally those people with like 10 different personalities, these crazy cases and shit, that's normally caused by psychologists suggesting to patients that they have more personalities than they do.
And then they start thinking about it, and it dwells on them, and it just spirals out of control after that.
You can do the same thing to young people with being gay and with being trans.
Exactly. This is what I was getting at.
It's a placebo effect.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. They start questioning, and then that's when it all starts happening.
The power of the mind is insane. Some of the things you can induce to yourself. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And clearly people have the power to turn gay and then unturn gay. Like, they don't have a choice. It's not a choice, but depending on your environment, that can control things. If you look at statistics involving prisons, for instance, the amount of homosexual behavior that happens in prisons, statistically, it's impossible for that many men to be gay.
Right.
But they develop those tendencies in prison because there's no fucking women.
Right.
You see it. You see it in animals all the time too.
It's like human nature.
Yeah, kind of. We're just very, very overtly sexual creatures for some reason. Well, there's some theories to that. You ever hear of, like, this is grasping at straws a little bit, but there is a documented time in our archaeological record where there were, like, or anthropologic, whatever. I'm probably saying the field of study wrong, but there was a time in history where there were only like about 1,000 Homo sapiens left on Earth. 1,000. There's
1,000.
Like, yep, there's 7.5 billion of us right now.
That's kind of understandable, I guess.
That was almost extinction, though.
Yeah.
Yep, and
like,
it's suggested that, or like grasping at straws a little bit, we can't prove this completely, but the people who reproduced the most, their genetics would get out the most, therefore we kind of had to start over with just 1,000 people.
Yeah.
You ended up having a bunch of nymphos producing a shit ton of offspring, and their offspring were nymphos, and there you go. That's why we're a hypersexualized species.
Yeah.
Yep. And like plenty of other animals do the same thing. It's a survival tactic.
Yeah, survival tactic.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think almost all primates are like that, to be totally honest, and we're primates, obviously.
Yeah. We're from that descendancy line.
Oh yeah. All right. I got a segue that we can get into.
All right.
How aliens? Let's just say aliens.
Aliens.
You believe in
right,
aliens?
Well.
Yeah.
Right behind me, like behind the the hill, is the moors, Todmorden Moors, and that's like, I think it's either the most sightings of UFOs in Europe or in the world. I can't remember. It's like really high up there though. Todmorden Moors, and yeah, there's a lot of alien sightings and such. And I think one day, like the world woke up, and do you know these big wind farms? There's loads of like wind farms and stuff. One of these windmills, the wings were actually broken off. Like, I think one wing was still on it, the other one was completely missing, and then the other one was like, 100 foot down, like where it were placed, and it were bent.
Almost
and
like
this
something,
is up until,
almost
like
flew
something
into
had hit it.
Yeah. Well, damn.
And like that's really creepy, because you should see the size of these things. Like, the wings are massive. Like, literally,
no, I know exactly what you're talking about. My geographical location in the United States, we've got a bunch of windmills all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, you believe in aliens then, obviously.
Yeah, I guess so. I think, like, in the universe, yes, there's definitely some form of life out there. There has to be.
Unless it's for religious reasons, I question your intelligence if you don't believe that there's life out there somewhere. When space is damn near infinite, infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
Mathematically, there has to be other life.
Yeah,
Has to be.
exactly.
Yeah.
There is a theory though that we are the most like advanced form of life.
Yeah, like we're
Like
the
we are the
first.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's the specific word? Predecessors or something? Like
Precursors.
precursors. That's the one.
Yeah.
Like
Now
we
that's
are the
scary.
precursors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Well,
we're the first, that's scary because that means we're treading on a really unknown territory right now.
yeah, and the problem is there's another theory about this that if we are like the precursors, and there's no way, like there's a theory that life, our life as like humanity, we will never exceed like a certain point because we will wipe ourselves out or something will wipe us out, like an illness of some sort, and we will never be able to get past like beyond that stage. I can't remember what the theory is called, but basically, yeah, that like because the
You think
Earth
there's a
can't
theory that
sustain us
suggests,
enough.
yeah, that we're capped off at a certain point.
Yeah, we're capped off at a certain point, and therefore we will never be able to, like, expand throughout
Yeah.
the universe,
Well, the key to that
and
is
we will
space
never
travel,
learn.
obviously.
Yeah,
If we can leave the solar system, we're good,
yeah,
basically. And I mean, we're working on colonizing Mars right now. I think we will have humans living on Mars. I'm not saying like massive cities.
by the end of the century.
Yeah, by the end of our lifetimes, probably.
Yeah,
We'll have humans walking around on Mars, living there, eating there, growing
or at
crops.
least the first people, like,
Yeah,
stepping on
for
the
sure.
land. And
For
stuff.
sure, I think we will. There's one big obstacle to Mars that I can't wrap my head around. How we're gonna
And
tackle
that would
it.
be,
The big answer to, I mean, there's two big answers. It's about traveling fast enough in space, and it's
Mhm.
about being able to reproduce.
right.
Without
Ah,
gravity,
right, yeah.
dude, we do not function or grow, or like you do not want to have kids without gravity. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
It is very unhealthy, unstable, and not a good idea. And so
Right.
I don't know if Mars's gravity is strong enough to preserve normal human development.
I mean,
I know it's better than like the moon.
I know that humans would like potentially be like taller if they reproduced and stuff
We would
on
definitely
the
look
Mars.
different, for sure.
Yeah. Over time, we'd definitely be a lot taller though, and that's because first of all, the gravity doesn't compress your spine as much, which obviously you'll be a bit taller. But
Right.
also I'm thinking of like nutrition and such. Like
Oh, nutrition we'd
the
be
food
fine.
that they're gonna the food that they're gonna be eating though, like if it's grown on, like the
On Mars.
it's how would you say it? Because it's not the Earth of Mars, because
It's on
Earth
Mars.
is
It's the
called Earth.
soil. The soil of
The
Mars.
soil of Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
The dirt.
the soil of Mars could have like some nutritional value that we don't even know of. That
Yeah,
could like
it could potentially
make or break
have.
us.
It could have chemicals or minerals that could make or break us. As far as we know, it doesn't seem to be a problem.
Yeah.
What's good about space, the way I know it, is the vast majority of space was, especially our section of space, all came from like the same supernova. So all of the everything on the atomic level is pretty much the same. So we know what everything is. We know how to recognize it. We can take soil from Mars and analyze it and know whether or not it's going to poison our fucking food when we grow it.
Yeah.
Which is good because Mars is made out of the same shit Earth is made out of, with subtle differences. Same thing with the moon, right? Stuff like that. But on Mars, nutrition will be fine as long as the soil's fine because we'll bring the seeds, right?
Yeah.
We'll bring the animals, and they would create an enclosed, like probably biodome situation, where you feed the animals shit. The shit turns into fertilizer. That fertilizes the soil. We're getting water from somewhere, probably from the ice on Mars.
Yeah.
And therefore you can water and fertilize the soil, grow plants. The plants go back to the animals, and the cycle. You now have an agricultural cycle, right?
Yeah.
And that's getting that done on Mars. Like, people think about like terraforming and stuff. Really, it's getting an agricultural cycle set up, because the plants produce oxygen, right? That wouldn't like make an atmosphere on Mars, but it would let us create livable like biodomes on Mars.
Yeah. Have you ever seen The Martian?
Yeah, I've
I
seen
love
The
that
Martian.
film.
Very good. Very
One
good.
of my favorite.
Yeah, like we're in a shitty time for cinema right now, but then you get gems like that every once in a while.
Yeah.
Very good movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's like
Oh yeah.
gold, really good. I think I believe that most of it is like scientifically correct with
I
how
think
it all
almost all
went.
of it is. I think that was kind of the point of the movie.
Yeah.
The only exception is like we had some technology that they don't have in real life yet, but like that's in production. That's about it. Because a lot of it was theoretical to a certain extent.
Uh-huh.
What else? Oh, but have you heard that the United States Pentagon has admitted to UFOs?
Yeah, I saw that like a few weeks ago, I think, on Snapchat actually.
Oh yeah. More and more of our government is admitting like every day to like kind of extraterrestrial activity. They won't call it aliens, they'll only call it UFOs, because right now all it is unidentified flying objects.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it keeps,
if they can identify it, then
then it's not
way not
yeah,
like aliens or something.
Yep. And I mean, basically, yeah, I think aliens might be here now, and I don't think I'm that crazy to believe that, because all it took was for the government to admit that there's like flying autonomous vehicles in the sky, and we have no fucking idea what they are.
Yeah.
And they're talking about it a lot. Joe Rogan just had somebody on his podcast like 2 days ago, and he's like actually an ex-government official who's like telling us about these UFOs and shit.
Oh, really?
How he's seen briefings and confidential information about way more than what the public has, but it will be released like in the relative near future.
Right.
Yeah.
That's quite creepy.
Yeah, nothing like alien contact, nothing like fucking Donald Trump wasn't having a beer with an alien or something. But what I'm hearing though, and what I think is we might be in possession of a few crashed vehicles.
Right.
And I know, because we have footage on YouTube that we actually have access to of
this is what I was going to say when you were done talking.
Yeah.
YouTube, there's that much stuff that's like been seen.
But the shit from the Pentagon
that
they released, we have infrared cameras on our jets flying around this UFO, and this UFO does crazy shit. Like it goes from flying like over 100 miles an hour and immediately takes a right turn in a different direction, like defies gravity.
Oh yeah, I think I've
shit
seen
like that. And that's real. Like, we actually caught that on camera, whatever the fuck this thing is. And it goes so fast that our AI can't track it either. Like, we can't lock onto it like we could lock onto like a Russian jet.
There's what is it now? So I think it's a USA like satellite or something that someone were working on, and there was like an astronaut on the outside of the satellite working on it, and this is all done live as well, so like literally everybody could see it. And they saw something fly behind him, like way off in the distance, and he actually like moved so it,
he saw
out of sight.
Yeah.
Like, so he moved into position so
to block
like nobody could see it flying. Yeah.
That's
that makes me question things even more.
Well, there's a lot of people who think when
USA.
NASA does this public outreach stuff that they're secretly like hiding aliens the entire time. A lot of people think that. A shit ton of people think that. I don't think NASA's like in contact with aliens or like chills out with them on a regular basis. But I wouldn't be surprised, because like our government's just now letting us know about UFOs. No, I wouldn't be surprised if they actively try to hide evidence of it while they're trying to figure out what it is. That wouldn't surprise me.
What you never know. What they could do is they might already know, and they might already be in contact with it, but they don't know how to bring it to subject. They can't just be like to the world, "Oh, hey, look at this. This is an alien."
Yeah.
Like, people might freak. It could send, everything into
turmoil,
craziness. Yeah,
well,
turmoil.
I was trying to explain this to a photographer in the car yesterday. Like,
right.
or not yesterday. It was actually like last week. But regardless, I was trying to explain to her in the car. I'm like, babe, if aliens exist, like, this is insane. And she's like, yeah, it's crazy, but like, it's no different than like if we found out like she tried explaining it to me in a way. She's like, the world still keeps turning as long as they don't like fucking go to war with us and kill us all or something. Right? Like, you still got to get a job, you still got to provide for your family, like, and all that kind of shit. We still want to have kids, and I'm sitting there like, yes, whatever, woman. Like, you're right, but right? I'm like,
there's a but.
well, just think about how much more meaning it adds to your life to know that there's the layers it adds to know that we're not the only ones in the universe. There's a lot of existential shit that comes along with knowing for sure aliens exist.
This could come down to, it could cause like some holy war or something as well. Religion could potentially
so
be
much of religion hates the idea of extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, and this is why I say they might be trying to keep it quiet, like, for the fact that...
Personally, I think religion is in such a decline that it doesn't matter. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah. Is that because it's like there's less and less each?
Oh, yeah. Every generation there's less religious stuff. Not in terms of how many people are religious, but like it's what they're becoming. So like, for instance, I think the vast majority of the United States is quote-unquote Christian, right?
Right.
Well, they don't go to church every Sunday. The vast majority of us don't. They don't pray every day.
Right.
They don't read the Bible. They don't do any of this stuff. They were just told by their parents, yeah, God exists. Jesus is Jesus, right? And that's about it.
Yeah.
And so on the census, they're like, yeah, I'm a Christian, sure. that's basically it. And I get into an argument with my dad about this all the time, because he's what I call a rational... He's a rational theologian. So...
Right.
He's actually Catholic, and he believes in the teachings of the Catholic Church, but he does it in his own way, and he does not disassociate science and religion. So, like...
Right, okay.
The way he really looks
still
at it... Yeah.
Scientific progression and stuff?
Exactly, and, like, the way he looks at it is anything flawed between science and, like, the Bible is due to misinterpreting something or dumbing something down because humans at the time couldn't understand.
Right.
And that's generally how he looks at it. And I'm like, all right, we can get along, basically. I'm like, as long as you don't disregard science in the name of your religion, that's fine. Like, for instance, another friend I have, which he's a very good guy. He's probably one of the most genuine, well-natured guys I know, like, ever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's in the process of becoming a pastor, actually. And he's willing to talk to me and theorize about extraterrestrial life because he's not a closed-minded person. Right. But he does not personally believe there's any extraterrestrial life out there, even though mathematically there should be, simply because the way he interpreted the Bible was we were made in God's image. That can only happen once, is what he thinks. Mm-hmm. Like I've gotten him to kind of be like, yeah, I guess he could go to other planets and like make other things more in his image. Yeah, but it's not it's not as personal of a connection. We're not like the chosen ones anymore if that happens, and that's I get why he doesn't want to propriate that. It's not because he's stupid, it's because he's got some theological conflictions going on in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was explaining to her though, I'm like, babe, think about space politics. Like, if the extraterrestrials are here and they just like annex Earth, we're now part of their federation in space, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole new, like, you've got states and countries and continents and the UN and all this shit on Earth. If that happens, everything just got exponentially, like, exploded.
Yeah.
Our economy just multiplied by, like, 5 million because we can probably start trading with other planets all around the universe.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
We're not going to be limited. But then that brings me to the thought of, I hope that we're not being harvested.
Yeah, and like
War of the world kind of shit. That would be like, no, thank you.
So I agree
That's a
with
big
that.
No.
There's two ways I have to look at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's if they wanted to kill us after seeing how these things fly, we'd be dead.
Yeah.
it's that simple for me. After seeing this thing
Yeah.
go from like 1,000 miles an hour, immediately take a right turn and presume the same speed, like kind of like it teleported or something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we'd be fucked immediately.
Well, just thinking about like not the technology, but like obviously, right? So if it's moving at 1,000 miles an hour, right, and it instantly turns, the amount of like force
Oh,
that
yeah.
is on that, we would be splattered. We'd be blood, like we'd be
It
blood and
wouldn't
guts
just be
all over.
us; the machine
So,
would shred.
yeah,
Yeah.
but this brings me to the thought of if something is piloting that at that, force, how the hell, like, what the hell does it look like?
Oh, well, yeah.
It's
That's if
structural
it has to
integrity.
listen to gravity. That's if it has to listen to
Yeah,
gravity. If the big theory right now is that these things kind of move space around them.
right.
Right. So like the idea is that they've harnessed
So they
antimatter
don't
or something
feel
we
the
don't
gravity and
understand.
stuff.
Yeah,
Like they don't feel
they
the
kind
force
of make
it.
like a bubble around them. They can control gravity so
See,
that they're
that
not
kind
affecting
of-
their general environment.
That makes me think of black matter.
Dark matter. Yeah, something
Dark
like
matter.
that.
Yeah, like that makes me think of that, which then goes on to the whole theory of black holes and stuff.
Well, the thing about dark matter is so many people think that like they're associated with black holes. So many people think it's like the element we're missing to like advancement and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing about dark matter is we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says it involves gravity.
We've
There's
just
nothing...
got a name for it.
Yeah, we just have a name for it because there's a mathematical equation that doesn't account for like a huge percentage of the universe, and we call that bit that we can't see or associate with dark matter.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean that's
There's
about it.
black holes are scary. I'm just
Oh yeah.
thinking about it. There's like somewhere in space. I think it's like on the other side of the Milky Way or something.
Yeah, there's a black
Um,
abyss.
It's a black abyss and literally no theories about it whatsoever. Besides, it could be a black hole
Yeah,
because
I've
there's
heard
literally
two
no
theories
data
about
anything.
it. I've heard two
And it could be
theories
a
about it.
huge. Well,
So that it's a black hole. It's a massive fucking black hole
Yeah.
that's slowly eating everything, right?
Yep.
Or there's an advanced civilization using Dyson spheres. Do you know what a Dyson sphere is?
those are the ones that like capture the sun and then
Yeah.
like absorb all the sun.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep, and they're slowly but surely blotting out.
Like draining it.
Yeah, they're slowly. Not that the sun disappears, right? But its
Mhm.
light does because they encase it in a metal shell that harvests it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a leading theory,
That's-
and yeah,
That's actually scary though.
that
That's scarier than the black hole, I think.
that's scarier than the black hole. And the big thing that's scary is if that is happening, it's a type of life that doesn't need light
Yeah.
because they're blotting out their light sources.
Yeah.
So like the way I think
That's
about it,
even scarier.
well, you see. Sorry for those listening. We're getting really fucking nerdy, but there's always this idea that at some point in the space age you'll have like robotic autonomous AI civilizations. They're not organic,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Robots have no need for eyes.
Don't
They don't
say
need
that.
They don't need light. They don't.
Yeah. Well, here's another theory. I'm just throwing this one out there.
What?
But what if it's not like a Dyson sphere, but it's actually something that's eating the sun?
Now that's
Like-
really kind of out there. Only because
It's really out there.
yeah, because it's not impossible. It's fucking space
Yeah.
we're talking about. It's infinite
Yeah.
possibilities, right? Could
Exactly.
there be an organic-based creature that eats stars? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But seeing as to how that we've never come in
across
contact
one.
with spaceborne life before, it's unlikely.
Yeah.
That's my
Mhm.
only thing about it.
Yeah.
The only reason it's unlikely. But
But no, it could
Yeah.
literally be like the nutrition that this monster needs to
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
eat it. I'm calling it a
Absolutely.
monster because you don't call
It is
an
a
alien something like an alien
Oh,
if
yeah.
it eats a freaking sun.
well, have you heard the theory? We talked about this in the first episode of the podcast ever. Actually, a lot of these same subjects. It's good to talk to
Alright.
you about it though. But have you heard of the Great Filter before?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
So, like earlier, to bring it back a little bit, you talked about how there's a chance we might be the first, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very unlikely we're the first, but we might be the only ones at the moment. Because whatever the Great Filter is may have killed everything else off prior.
Yeah.
And we're just the next ones on the galactic stage. Yeah. And I think that could be it. But have you played the Mass Effect video games?
No, I
Okay.
haven't. But...
It's kind of like a different. It's kind of like if you mixed Star Wars and Halo, I guess.
Okay.
Because Halo goes into sci-fi and it's a very realistic theoretical version of sci-fi. Like they mapped everything out scientifically, and it's all based around scientific theory.
Mm-hmm.
While Star Wars is space wizards, right?
Space wizards.
Yeah, like Star Wars has a scientific basis to it, but it's not grounded in science. It's very theoretical. There's very fantastical stuff.
It's the most probable thing.
Star Wars
to probably happen. Yeah, I can see it being probable.
See, I think
happening.
Mass Effect is probable.
I wouldn't know because I haven't watched it.
So Mass Effect is the balance between the massive size of the universe that Star Wars brings and the grounded in scientific reality that Halo brings.
Okay.
Mass Effect is the middle, because in Mass Effect there's a shit ton of different species, but not so many that you can't keep track of it, like Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
There's super advanced technology, but not so advanced that you couldn't comprehend it, kind of like the Force and lightsabers and shit like that.
Right. I mean, there's literally lightsabers.
I know
being built.
They're not the exact same thing, though. Like for instance, in Star Wars, they're made out of kyber crystals, which burns hotter than anything, right? Like that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Ours are literally just pinpointed flames that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lightsaber, but it's not a lightsaber, right? That's the thing. What was I gonna say? Oh, but in Mass Effect, the whole premise from you don't know it at first, but from Mass Effect 1 to the end of Mass Effect 3, the whole premise is you're kind of getting the galaxy ready for the next galactic purge. Because there was this species before the current cycle you're in called the Leviathans, and the Leviathans ran shit. They're like the Forerunners from Halo, kinda.
Right.
But the Leviathans created this robot race, this autonomous race called the Reapers, that come and reset sentient life every 10,000 years or something.
So they can't get ahead of them.
Yeah, like the Leviathans,
they'll always be like the top of the food chain.
They kind of call it like gardening, I guess. They consider,
so it's like a culling.
Yeah, they consider certain parts of the galaxy their garden, and the Reapers are weed pullers, I guess.
Right.
They go through, prune everything, weed pull, and control everything. Because they don't want sentient life to cease to exist completely. They let it get to a certain point, wipe it out, and then restart.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, they don't want to be overthrown because they're at top of the food chain, kind of thing.
That's the idea. Problem is the AI got rid of the Leviathans too. So there's just this perpetual cycle without anything heading it anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the whole premise of the Mass Effect series, and I think that could be what we're looking at in real life. Like, there's no evidence to suggest that, but, when you think about how old space is, for us to be the first, it's very unlikely, so I think cycles, maybe.
Yeah, there could be something along the lines that appears out of nowhere.
Yep. And
that's a scary thought.
Yeah, and radio waves work in space.
Could literally happen right now.
Oh yeah, radio waves work in space. Well, they work really well in space, especially if you had technology to make them move faster.
Right.
So a lot of questions people ask a lot are, why the fuck is it silent in space? Because there's bound to be life all over the place. How have we not gotten radio waves from other species and shit?
Yeah.
And
I guess what we don't know is like we say that we got like the galaxy and we've got like these certain planets and then beyond them certain planets it's not our galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we've got the solar system. Let's say that.
Yeah.
We're a part of the Milky Way, aren't we? Or
Yeah,
something?
we're in the Milky Way galaxy.
Yeah. So like the solar system, for all we know, we could be like the sun's the center, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And like this sun could like have like an aura or something that just blocks out certain signals or something. I don't know. Like there could be something somewhere that's
you're
just
getting
blocking
real
signals.
theoretical right now, but yeah,
Yeah.
your theory, the theory you're getting into would explain our great filter. It would suggest that what if Sol, our sun, produces something that keeps us blocked off from the rest of the universe, from communication or something. Like that's all very possible. However,
we don't know everything.
UFOs are here, so maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Well,
yeah.
Well, no, it could be like it could be blocking something that we don't know about yet.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I think there's a few stars that we've seen turn on and off before. That either
and off?
Yeah, so like in our sky when we see stars from a very far distance, like light years away, there's been a few that have flickered before.
Right.
Yeah, that either means something so big got in the way that you can't see on the
got
other
in the
side,
way.
or like a Dyson sphere siphoned it and then let it grow again, and did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Like, yeah. That the first one's definitely scarier.
And
the thought of something so big just blocking out the
yeah.
sun is definitely always going to be.
Oh yeah.
One of those. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of stuff like that.
Me either. But there's a certain point where like things get so galactically massive that I'm not even scared anymore because I know death's probably instant. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. There's a certain point to where I can kind of just like shed my shackles of mortality and be like, all right, I'm ready. If this thing's larger than Earth, just take it out. I'm done. I quit.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we're a nature preserve. That's really what I think we are. I think aliens know about us. They've known about us from the start or close to the start. They might have even planted us here, and we're kind of like a zoo and a scientific experiment at the same time. Yeah. UFOs are them checking up on us. There might not even be aliens in there. They might be autonomous drones.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got me thinking of, like you said, we could be like a nature preserve kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
well, humans would be an endangered species. If we're on one planet, we're an endangered species. Yeah. And if there's any civilizations out there that think remotely like us, they'd want to preserve it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. That's another theory, isn't it? There's so many theories.
I actually believe in that one, though. That's what I think's happening.
Yeah.
We're a nature preserve.
Yeah, the scary thing is, though, like, we might end up just wiping ourselves out.
Well, so there's so many theories about UFOs showing up around our nuclear weapons, according to military reports. Not just from us, from Russia and China as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think it's theorized that they want to prevent us from doing that.
Yeah, because that could be just human nature. That could be, like, literally... We could be, we could actually be a weapon.
How so? Oh, because we're so destructive.
Like, yeah, because we're so destructive. We potentially could be classed as like a parasite because what are we doing to the Earth right now? We're just draining it.
Give us the right weapons.
Yeah, like we're draining this planet of all its resources. We're creating like nuclear weapons and stuff. We could be like some form of parasite to them, like these aliens, and they've put us on this planet where we can thrive. And yeah, like for all we know, they might want the planet destroyed or something.
Well, there's
Who knows?
There's two lines we can go down next in this episode. We can get philosophical because you clearly have a different perception of human nature than me to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Which we could talk about for a long time, especially knowing me. Right?
Yeah.
Or we can go down. Fuck, what was the other thing I was going to talk about? Oh yeah, we could talk about examples from ancient civilizations where it kind of looks like they're talking about aliens.
You're on about Aztec.
Well,
And
the
stuff like
Aztecs, the Mayans, the Mesopotamians, which is way before them, even.
All right.
All right, yeah, we'll go down that one. You seem kind of interested in that one. But so
I love talks about aliens
yeah,
and paranormal.
Oh yeah.
Like, you got me on paranormal.
Oh,
I love
we
that
should
one.
we should get into ghosts when we're done with this, for sure.
Yeah. Is it in this one or next time? You said something about next.
It can be
time.
in this one. No, I meant next
Right.
subject. Just as.
Right.
That's why I love these shooting the shit episodes, because you can talk about anything. Yeah, it's great. Cause
it's just one subject to another.
When I started the podcast, I really thought doing this kind of stuff wouldn't work out at all, and maybe it doesn't in the long run. But in the short run, I get a better response when I do this. So I'm gonna do both. But like every time it's somebody's first time on the podcast, I'm gonna do a shooting the shit episode with them first, and then we can get into subjects. Works. Introductory episodes or shooting the shit episodes. However, that definitely works. I want to do a series with Badger, where we start sober and get drunk by the end of the podcast, and just drinking with Badger is what I want to call it. Honestly, just talking about anything.
I can't even drink anymore.
Yeah.
You reminded me.
You know, you could have a cheat day like once a month or something. You know,
cheat day that would kill me.
Oh, it would kill you?
Not
it's that
literally. It wouldn't kill me, but I really wouldn't feel great afterwards.
Yeah, I know your medical condition's a bit worse than mine and a bit more specific. But I suffer a similar situation where my digestive tract goes to shit after significant cheat days, and I have to recover like for 3 days after the fact.
Yeah, it's not worth it for me, so I've had to give it up. And I'm so sad because I bought a load of alcohol just before I went in and everything.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry.
Yep. And it's all just there sitting there in my fridge tempting me. I'm just rough. Like, really?
Alright, my browser thing's working, so let me look this up real quick. But so, Mesopotamia, it's one of the oldest civilizations we know of ever. Okay?
Okay. I'm just gonna have a quick drink.
Okay.
Don't mind me.
Mesopotamian. Hold up, I'm looking up. Mesopotamian alien carving. Look that up. So the Mesopotamians are weird because they had. How do I explain it?
Were these the ones?
They're from the Middle East. Yeah, actually, some of their carvings did have oval heads. What's weird about the Mesopotamian carvings and stuff I'm talking about is the Mesopotamians had an accurate representation of our solar system. Like, it was pretty close. They knew we were on a sphere floating in space. They did not think the world was flat. Okay?
How? If they didn't have, like,
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
They knew that. They even knew about Pluto, the farthest out tiny planet.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Is this from like depictions from what they've like found and such?
Yeah. So we know they had an accurate representation of the solar system, and they also have carvings of very alien-looking creatures. They look kind of like the Greys from fucking, like, you know, the stereotypical alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got that going on. And I'm looking for it right now because I'm going to share it with the audience. But they have a statue of a giant being pulling the tails off of small humans.
Oh my.
Like turning us from monkeys into people type shit.
That's really creepy.
Oh, yeah. What's this? That looks like it could be that.
Yeah. So that's really creepy, actually.
Well,
like,
yeah, that gets into like
how big is the bean? Like, is it
comparatively
3-4 times as big? Or?
Comparatively speaking, from what I remember, it's like 3 times the size. I think it's this right here, but yeah, and they do the oval egg-shaped head thing. Like, it looks kind of like an ape with an egg-shaped head. That's what it normally looks like. These gods do look like us, though, but there's size differences and some anatomical differences and stuff. I'm looking for the tail one right now. Yeah, let me see. Mesopotamian.
Yeah, and this is where I'm going back to like
pulling up here. Keep talking. You're good. Tail carving.
So yeah, I was saying about like how this could relate back to Mars and how there could potentially be life on Mars, maybe, or if
there used to be.
there was, it'd probably be taller and bigger. Yeah, because like,
okay.
if there was life on Mars, it'd probably be taller and bigger because gravity. Gravity has such a big effect on us. No.
No. Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I tried typing in specifically what I was looking for, right? And when I tried doing that, it like brought up a bunch of weird like images and shit, and like the whole audience just saw it. It was very funny.
Oh.
Nothing inappropriate, but it was funny.
Right.
I think this one might
because
be
I just said the whole thing and then you just went, nope.
No, I didn't.
I was just like, what?
Well, if they planted life here, right, and if they have all this scientific power and like all this shit, you would expect that they would have carved out the rest of the solar system for us too, to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd think so much more of our environment would be manipulated to be tailored to us. If that's the case. Wrong program. Let's get into here and stop sharing.
Right, you'd see if there was like well, the way I'm thinking about it now is we're kind of like the ants that you get and put in an ant farm kind of thing.
Oh yeah, very similar.
But like a test. We're like a test right now. That's the like theory that I've got going on in my head right now.
Well, because space is infinite,
I think
there's a few different ways to look at it. So like, are we the first time they're doing this? Are we the millionth time they're doing this? Is this how they expand their empire?
Yeah.
They do this, bring up a new race of people that like, might serve a specific psychological purpose, and then come to them and ascend them, right, to the level that they're at. Like, because so many of our religions that might have been founded in aliens, as far as we know, are based around reaching this enlightenment. Like we have a goal, like we're supposed to reach this certain state of being, right? And what if when we reach that supposed state, that's when they'll come and contact us?
I've got another theory now. Like they're flowing.
Yeah, go for it.
So we are just one of the millions of tests that are being done right now. There's different planets with the same species placed on it, and it's like they're looking for the superior ones, or they could even be put on this planet and left to see what resources could be harvested, or what like technology is made, because each planet could give different resources, which could lead to different, technology.
Right.
And so each planet that we've been placed on around the universe, there's different,
now
the
you're
same
getting
species of human.
Now you're getting into Stargate. Have you ever watched the movie Stargate?
Nope.
So Stargate is interesting because what it is like, the premise of the movie is like, while we're excavating ancient Egypt or something, the pyramids, we find a teleportation device, an ancient teleportation device underneath it. And, and we basically find out that there's this advanced civilization called the Gaul, is what they're called.
Right.
They look like anatomical humans, but they're gods, basically. They go and find Earth-like planets around the universe, seed them with humans to make them slaves, and produce things.
Right.
And use these stargates, these teleporters, to get from point A to point B to govern all these planets. And that's what ancient Egypt was for us. in our life, right? And there was a revolution basically of the humans. They blocked off the Stargate, and we haven't seen the Goa'uld since until we opened it up again. That's what's theorized, and like all of Egyptian mythology is actually humans interacting with the Goa'uld, and that was the best way we could record those events. That's their idea. Yeah, very, very interesting, for sure. And I mean,
it is.
Could have something like that. You know, the way pyramids show up all over the fucking planet is weird. All over the planet. There's pyramids in Siberia. There's pyramids in Egypt, the ones we all know about. There's pyramids all over the Americas, actually. Most of them aren't like Egyptian massive pyramid of Giza type shit. But like especially the South Americans, the Mayans and Aztecs built like pyramids all over the fucking place.
And then there's Stonehenge.
Stonehenge is weird because Stonehenge is weird. Stuff like that. There's lots of weird shit like that, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you to get away from aliens a little bit? Have you heard of the theory of giants yet?
No, never actually.
A lot of people think that there used to be another species of humanoid on the planet that were giants.
And was the theory what's backing this theory?
There's some archaeological stuff, I think some bones and stuff, where people think we've found giants. We found a few skulls, which are weird, because we know... It's theorized that these giants actually had 2 rows of teeth, for some reason, not 1 row, like we do. And
how tall are these giants when you say giant? Like, are we talking like massive or just like twice as big as us?
Like twice as big of us type thing.
Right.
So like, yeah, still pretty fucking huge. Things that like if there was more than one of them, they could build Stonehenge easier than we could. Right.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And that's what the ongoing theory is. I haven't seen good enough archaeological evidence to suggest giants.
Yeah.
But it's suggested that they were like... There was a time where there was more oxygen on Earth, so larger creatures could survive. Giants existed, and the theory goes that when the oxygen levels changed, they died out over time.
I don't know about that one.
Me either.
I think... Like, the whole Stonehenge thing, where you said, like, they were bigger and stuff, and more capable of moving such thing, I think that's, you know, kind of like shitting on the capability of humans. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong.
We are...
I'm just saying, really it's one of the theories, right?
Yeah.
Well, we found a lot of, like... The Egyptians apparently were a very mercantile... like industrious people.
Yeah.
Even though they believed in like crazy theology and had like a class system, they still dealt in money. They had currency, they had writing, and they recorded things.
Slaves.
Well, there's that, but it's suggested that the people who built the pyramids were actually paid workers.
Oh, really?
Paid contractors.
Not slaves.
I'm sure slaves were there, but
yeah,
you know, like it was paid contractors that did most of the building, I guess. And the reason we know is because there's documentation, I guess. Because the ancient Egyptians documented, like, everything, I guess. They kept, like, books, like, ledgers and shit. It's just ancient Egypt is so ancient that it's, it's one of the oldest things
I think
we know
the
of.
craziest thing is there used to be, like, a whole freaking ocean where the sand is now.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's a desert.
Yeah, like that one mind.
That's weird.
Mind got just blown.
You know, I talk to people a lot who don't believe in the continental drift hypothesis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, if you take Africa and insert it into South America, where the puzzle pieces fit together, not only do like the climates match and some of the fauna, like the plants and shit match, so do the wildlife.
Yeah.
Like people don't believe in the continental drift hypothesis, and I'm like, dude, how the fuck is the same species of
kind
wolf...
of staring in your face?
Yeah, like, how is the same
clear
species
evidence.
of wolf living in the Americas and Europe simultaneously.
Yeah.
How the fuck is that possible? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, that really...
Yeah, what I'd love to see if there was ever time travel would, to be like have a first like person glance at the continents just breaking.
Yeah, but
Like,
that
obviously it happened over millions of
Yeah.
years and stuff, but
it would
like
be cool to
imagine
see, like,
the
a
first
time
break
lapse.
because there's got to be a first break where
Yeah.
the land was together and then it broke. There will be a first place.
Kinda. If it happened over millions of years, there were definitely massive earthquakes while it was happening, but it was never like fracturing a cookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that never happened. I think the structural integrity of Earth would be in jeopardy if something like that happened.
Yeah, it might be on a small scale
Oh,
or
yeah.
something like that.
In
happened,
small
but,
spots
like,
at different times.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Mhm.
For sure.
Hence the jaggedness of like
certain locations.
islands and such. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just it all makes too much sense not to though. What you were talking about.
Well, what's also weird to think about is all of the continents, all of the ground level stuff we live on. It's all mountains, all of it. Every square inch of land above water is technically a mountain.
Yeah.
Because ground level is whatever the majority of the Earth's surface is, and that's all underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't it 70% like water?
Something like that. Yeah, 70% of our surface is covered in water.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It might be even more, actually. I think it's like 76% of something.
Right.
It's a very high percent anyway.
For sure.
It's like I'm living on a mountain, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, technically we all are.
Very high up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, what do you think of overpopulation, man?
Something definitely
We're at
needs
risk?
to be done about it.
Right now? You think it needs to be done right now? Like, are we overpopulating?
Like China is definitely. That's why they've got like regulations on how many kids you can have. I think that it's more about we need to regulate the land that we've got, and like we shove too many people in the same spots. Like these cities, yeah, they're built for holding a lot of people, but I don't think it's the best thing that we could be doing. We need to like expand more to different places.
Yeah.
But then you've got the farmland and such as well. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. I think that we're going about it the wrong way with building big cities, though. I don't think that's the way to go.
Give me a sec. I'm still listening to you, but I'm looking up a statistic real quick.
Well, I do feel like Nate. I think we should go along the lines of. This is a really tough subject, like a touchy one as well. Like, you know how China regulates? I think it's 1 or 2 children that they can bear. I think.
Well, yeah, but they I know exactly what you're talking about, and they're actually doing a 180 on that now.
Right. So they're actually saying you can have more?
Yeah, the way I understand it is China prides itself on having one of the largest populations on Earth. Okay.
Right.
And they just pulled themselves out of massive poverty across the entire country.
Right.
So for a very long time since Mao's revolution, where the Communist Party took over, the vast majority of the population was starving, basically, all the time, and they employed population measures, not because they were running out of room, because they didn't have enough resources.
Right.
Now that they've fixed the resource problems, they're actually wanting people to have more kids, and actually, currently, they've been silencing feminists on social media because feminists support the idea of women waiting to have kids or not having kids at all so that they can be strong, independent, and not have to worry about that shit, not need a man, basically.
Yeah.
And they've been silencing feminists on social media and throwing them in prison because they've been saying shit like that because they want people to have more kids now.
Right.
Yeah, since the economics changed, it's not because they've got like from Great Wall to Great Wall, fucking people are bustling out of this shit. It's mainly because they couldn't afford it. Is really what it was. Because, for instance, here, listen to this real quick, and then, as it turns out, I'm quoting this actually. Let me throw this up in the so that viewers can see it. There we go. So what it says. As it turns out, there is a lot more room available than you might otherwise think. The entire population of the world, all 7.7 billion people, as of writing on August 4th, 2019, could fit in the state of Texas. This would require a density of population equal to that of New York. So imagine if all of Texas was New York City.
Right.
You could fit the whole population of the world in there. Yeah. The area of Texas is 268,581 square miles.
I don't think everyone would be best pleased about being shoved in one spot.
Oh, no, not at all. But what it says is in terms of room, overpopulation is not a problem. The problem is thinking about feeding everyone.
Right. So what I was going to say is I think overpopulation also comes down to immigration as well. Like, as in, I think that people who have, like, come over to seek asylum and such, like...
I thought you wanted to stray from this one.
I know I did, but I'm just gonna...
Nothing's off limits.
Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna bring this one up, like, vaguely.
Okay.
So, people who've, like, come over as an immigrant, like, to seek asylum, I do believe that they should be, like, limited to, like, how many kids they can bear, or if they should be allowed. Like,
I guess why, though?
Until they find, you know, a potential place where they can stay themselves, like, but, you know, where they know that they're going to be...
completely. If they don't have a place to take care of said kids, they probably shouldn't be having the kids. Right. That makes sense.
Because in my eyes, I see it as if they've come from like a place where there's war or something, or they're basically seeking asylum. They're not going to be in the greatest of positions, you know, to make decisions for themselves and their families and stuff. And if they're bearing kids as well now, then that's an extra responsibility. And
well,
this
not
extra
just for
responsibility,
them, it's a responsibility for your welfare system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what I'm getting at this is this then creates the problem of will they get a good education? And if they don't get the good education, this then turns to, you know, poverty and stuff.
Perpetuates a cycle of poverty, yeah.
Yeah, and this is where you have the problem of, like, you know, high immigration areas with more crime and such is because of that reason. And it's like, you know, I think that population in terms of immigrants, it's I don't know how to word this one.
Well, something that I do know happened, I can help a little bit.
Go on.
There's a great deal of Middle Eastern, Syrian, and Pakistani refugees in Europe and in Britain. What I do know has happened, and in some major metropolitan areas, the refugees are starting to outnumber the normal population, the original population.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I would like to say first, from what I know about you, their skin color has nothing to do with the problem. It's mainly culture.
Yeah.
Right. And it's when a foreign culture that doesn't 100% jive with your country's culture comes in and outnumbers the native culture. And it could essentially delete a culture. Now, a lot of people would say something along the lines of, like, British culture isn't legitimate culture, it's based off of immigrants or whatever, right? In some cultures are based off of immigration, but, like, for instance, your immigration-based culture is nothing compared to mine.
Yeah.
So, like, the United States, not only should we never be anti-immigration because we should never be anti-immigration for a few reasons. One, our economy can generally handle it because we're freaking massive. We have enough land for it. Like,
yeah, we've got to say you've got huge amount of land.
Yeah, we have enough land for it, and as long as they're not getting thrown on our welfare system, sweet, more people, more employees, more everything, right?
Yep.
And we were created based off of different cultures melding together.
Yeah.
Britain, however, is like a very
old
country. that has a bunch of historical value. And and you guys do have culture. For instance, in Britain, I know you guys drink lukewarm beer. We don't do that here. We don't fucking do that here. That's a cultural difference. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I get that, and it's not that you're prejudiced against these other cultures. It's that, I mean, I'm sure you're prejudiced against radical versions of said cultures, which me too.
Yeah.
We as a society should be prejudiced against any form of radicalism at all. Anything that's radical, we should dislike. Especially like you see in terms of radical Middle Eastern cultures, you see the oppression of things like women's rights and the protecting of children, and there's like sex slavery and stuff like that. Understand, I'm not talking about this is mainly to the viewers, not to you, Baron, but I'm not saying this is the entire Middle East. Actually, the vast majority of the people who immigrate on their own before refugee crises and stuff immigrated because they disagreed with the radicals.
Yeah.
I call that westernized, and that's fine.
Yeah. From
you're on an
my
island,
experience,
though.
From where I lived, we've had those kind of radicals like literally just down the road from where I've been living and such.
Well,
and
that's the problem with refugees
like
versus immigrants. They're not the same thing because refugees aren't really vetted. Refugees aren't. They're not vetted. They're not put through a proper process. They're not re-educated in any way, shape, or form. Like when somebody from the Middle East comes and tries to move to the United States, they have to take classes about American culture and how things work. And our history and stuff like that. Refugees don't have to do that. That's a problem.
We are a very small island as well. Like said.
You actually do have a potential room problem.
Yeah.
And definitely a population problem. It's a fucking island.
Yeah, exactly. And
mainland Europe should have less gripes than you, but they still don't have nearly as much real estate as the Americas or Asia.
What I was saying is, no,
nope,
definitely not. So what I was saying is we're this small island and we're taking on refugees, and this is where I'm on about with the population and how many kids they should or shouldn't be allowed to have, is because, as an island, we're small to begin with anyway, and if we're taking on more people, then that means that, we're going to have to create more buildings and so, which is going to affect, our money.
You still have a while before the amount of people is a problem.
Oh, yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, these refugees will also, they'll have kids, and then the kids will have kids. It just expands. Obviously, we're going to be like that, but the population itself is growing as a whole anyway. So
here's something interesting I can share to you about that here. So, we have stereotypes in our country, but a lot of the time they're based around fact. That's why they're a stereotype. Yeah. That does not mean it's always this way or always that way. It means sometimes things tend to be a certain way. So, for instance, you have Middle Eastern immigrants to our country. The first generation, it's a family, right? They preach and worship Islam. The mom wears a hijab and wears the headdress and all that kind of stuff, doesn't try to show her skin, and the kids, while they're living in the house, do the same thing. One of those kids goes off to college, gets exposed to a bunch of American culture and ideology and liberalism, actually, and now becomes an atheist. The other two kids stay Islam, but they're a little bit more lenient about things because they're like, why do I have to listen to all these rules when the rest of America doesn't?
Yeah.
And so when all of the kids now have kids, the atheist one's kids, you can't tell the difference between them and a normal American.
Yeah.
The other two, it slowly dampens a little bit more. Maybe one of them has an atheist kid or something like that, or maybe one of them even does something crazy like converts to Christianity or something. Now they're really Americanized, right? And
Yeah.
and you see how it dilutes. I tried to explain this to Anthony the other day because
I see.
yeah,
I see it.
he said something like you actually see it with Hispanics here a lot too. When Hispanics first migrate over, they vote liberal actually because the immigration process is awful and we really need to make it better. But they vote very liberal because liberals are pro amnesty and pro just making all of the illegal immigrants citizens overnight.
Right.
But their kids start voting more conservative, and about 2 generations from the original immigrants, they're conservative now instead of Democrat. That's generally how that statistic works with Hispanics, the people from Mexico, for some reason. Because after they were living here, because they didn't have to go through the immigration process, because they work for a living and some of them become business owners and all this kind of shit, they change their opinion, right?
Yeah.
And so you should start seeing some of that happening because eventually these places are going to run out of refugees to send if it keeps happening. So the refugee spill isn't infinite. And they can't the only problem Britain has is if their culture overtakes yours, there will be no cultural assimilation. There will only be their culture now. That's the only thing to worry about. Here in the States, that's not a problem because they are so outnumbered by the vast other cultures we have in our country.
Do you have schools or colleges that are literally just full of one race?
Like, is it the rules? Are you saying they have a rule that it can only be one race, or it just happens that way?
No, literally, it just happens that way.
So,
because we've got quite a few schools where I used to live.
The United States has that going on. We have some historically black colleges, which that's a touchy subject because black folks take pride in it because they're like, this is a black college because when there was segregation, this is where we could go to college. So white people aren't allowed to attend those colleges. But then you have people like me.
Really?
Yeah, but then you have people like me who are like, man, we're supposed to live in a free society. And
and they're the ones separating themselves.
Yeah, and I think the way forward for progress, for progressivism, is for us to not look at race at all. Therefore, there should not be only black colleges. That's a touchy subject, and it's not the hill I want to die on, right?
No.
But what we do,
I've always just loved Morgan Freeman's one.
That's how I look at it, Morgan Freeman. Yeah, I like his. I think that's the most reasonable thing you can do. Personally, especially if you just raised your kids that way.
Yeah.
But what we do have is statistically black folks are 14% of the population. The vast majority of our population is Europeans. So what you'll have is like an area like my high school, there's 2 black kids for every 100 kids. Right, so there's no law in place saying it has to be that way. There's nobody telling black kids where they can go to school and telling white kids where they can go to school. It just happens demographically there wasn't many black folks. If you go to the more population dense areas like we were talking about earlier, there's more black folks. That's just where they're living right now. A lot of the time black communities are in underprivileged communities though because we did not integrate them very well after we gave them freedom.
Right.
And that is one thing I can actually lean really left about. I don't believe in a lot of affirmative action where we should give handouts to people and stuff. But there is definitely a cycle of poverty perpetuated all the way back from the Civil War. Because we took a bunch of people who were uneducated, didn't know how to read.
And shipped them all in one area?
Yeah, I mean, we took a bunch of people who didn't even know how to read a map of the country they live in, right? Gave them all freedom overnight and said, go make yourselves great. But they had no idea how to use the tools we gave them because we didn't teach them. And I mean, what you were talking about, and that's why you see a lot of black folks in poverty today. That and
Because
after
the way
the
of
civil
life has never really changed too much.
Well, the way of life has changed and evolved a ton. The problem is we never taught them how to use the tools provided to free people.
Right.
I mean, that's about it. And on top of that, places in the South still had a bunch of quote unquote Jim Crow laws after the Emancipation Proclamation when black people were freed.
What, Jim Crow laws?
Yeah, I don't know why they're called Jim Crow laws. It's laws.
Oh, I thought that was the name of someone.
It probably is. It was probably put. I don't know who Jim Crow is, but Jim Crow laws were laws put in place to purposely segregate black people from white people even after black people were freed. So like,
right.
Even though black people were quote unquote free, they couldn't drink out of the same drinking fountain that white people did. They couldn't ride on the same part of the bus. They couldn't ride in the same train car. They couldn't ride in the same taxis.
This was before
they were freed at this point. Yeah, Martin Luther is the one who came. Martin Luther King. Say Martin Luther King because Martin Luther is the guy who founded Protestantism.
Okay, Martin Luther King then.
Yeah. It's who Martin Luther King's named after, but yeah. Martin Luther King Jr. is like the founder of the civil rights movement that started fixing a lot of that because the idea was separate but equal. And the idea was everything black people did and everything white people did had to be separate, but they should be equal services. Well, what ended up happening is you'd give white people this badass tall as shit drinking fountain and give black people like a fucking box with a cup of water in it and call it equal. Right. And that's why it was a problem, because it wasn't equal.
Yeah.
They were treated like a lower caste of society or something. But that was disproportionate, because, you know, me and the other Americans in our friend group talk about states and differences between states all the time. Depending on what state you were in really depended on how much segregation there was. So the farther south you went, the worse the segregation got. The farther north you went, the more chill people were, generally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I bring it back a little bit. I was talking to Anthony about this the other day, because a lot of left-leaning people, especially leftists, think that like black people are going to be the main population in the United States someday, because more and more black folks are, more and more white and black folks are getting married and having kids together.
Right.
Which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Yeah. But what I was trying to explain to him is, okay, Anthony, let's do the math. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's 14% of them are black, and the vast majority are white. If you take a drop of ink and drop it in the ocean, does the ocean turn into ink?
Is that what you asked him?
Yeah, and he kind of sat there dumbfounded for a minute. I'm like, okay, so genetically, there will be more black folks. Will they look like black people? Yeah. Probably not. Especially because every time black folks and white folks have kids, the statistical chances that said kids are going to go then have kids with white folks is huge, because there's just that many more white people. It has nothing to do with preferences. It has nothing to do with like who you're choosing. It has to do with the mathematical likelihood that they're going to go with the majority of the population.
I'm thinking that theoretically, like, could like black people not become black people anymore? Like, as in, say that two black people didn't like have a kid, and it was like, you know, a black person had a kid with a white person, and like everybody, it was always like a load of blacks and a load of whites had kids, and then no black people had kids together.
So thankfully we have things like immigration, right?
Yeah,
which would allow a constant stream of foreigners and different colored skinned people into the country.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's more than possible.
Theoretically,
the only reason it wouldn't happen is because on Earth, right, there's a proportional amount of black people compared to white folks, just not in the United States.
Right.
So on our continent, theoretically, black people could cease to exist just because they got like They
I find that
got consumed by the white population genetically, right?
Yeah.
But like, let's go into alternate
You'd still have
history.
outcasts and stuff,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
let's go into alternate history. Let's say Africa was the New World instead, and black folks in Africa traveled over to the Americas and captured white people and brought them over and enslaved them for a long time. And the same thing happened, but instead blacks are in charge and whites are slaves. Okay. If white people could cease to exist in Africa if they were only 14% of the population and you weren't constantly adding more white people, yeah. The vast majority of the population would have white people genetics, and here in the United States, if black people cease to exist, in quotes, they would still have black people genetics. They just wouldn't look black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just find that kind of like crazy because
yeah, it's interesting.
It never work. It could never work the other way round, could it? It never would be able to work.
Not in the States. That's why I brought up the theoretical difference. If white people went to Africa, it could happen the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that would make, well, the way in which it's possible to change is entirely because white folks are having less kids and black folks are still having the same amount of kids.
Yeah.
So if that trend continues, then yeah, you could see a reversal, because if more white people died than were born and more black people were born than died, then you could see a population switch.
Yeah.
I think is how the math works. Yeah.
I do find that kind of like
it's fascinating.
Interesting.
Very fascinating.
Yeah.
But there was this weird thing that our Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement did, which is interesting. So like, Caucasians aren't a thing. So and there's probably different types of black people too, to be totally honest, depending on what geographical part of Africa they came from. But human beings are so different based on their geographical location because of adaptions we made, that like there's a huge difference genetically between Japanese people and Chinese people, even though they're both Asian. There's a huge difference. I don't know about the different geographical parts of Africa, so I don't know, so I can't point that out. But like, there's a huge difference between Italians and Swedish people.
Italians and Swedish people.
But they're both white.
Yeah.
They're both thrown into this Caucasian category, even though they're vastly different phenologically. Like, they're both anatomically human, but like, Italians have slightly darker skin. They're more likely to have darker hair. I think Nordic people are likely to be taller. They're likely to have blue eyes and blonde hair, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
there's a place on the world where there's like people who are, I think it's, where is it now? They're literally like 6 to 7 foot high. It's like they're black and they're very tall.
Yeah,
you're
slim. Talking about Tonga.
It's like
you're talking about Tonga.
Tonga, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know if they're considered black. I don't know what they're considered, but they. Yeah. There's some islands near Australia where the natives are like. They're freaking monsters physically, like in a good way, not a bad way. But like, yeah, they're like some of the most like powerful physical specimens of all time.
Yeah.
Yep. It just be that way.
Speaking
really
of like islands and different things like that, there's one island. Like, what do you think about the whole island where
the Sentinel
people? Yeah, is it like they're still in the Stone Age or something?
It's
like
worse. It's way worse than the Stone Age.
Cannibals and stuff. Yeah,
they're cannibals. They still participate in weird witchcraft stuff. They participate in a shit ton of incest because they live on a small island.
Yeah,
it's bad.
What do you think about that?
Well,
what do you think should be done, or should nothing be done?
Well, this goes back to aliens, man, because that's what it is. The way we look at the Sentinelese is how aliens would look at us. What if aliens are humans, and we're just such another primitive version of themselves that they don't know what to do, just like we don't know what to do about the Sentinelese. I mean, look at what happened when Europeans came to the Americas. We gave so many diseases to the Native Americans that we killed millions. Like, the majority of them died from smallpox and other diseases, not from us killing them, literally.
Yeah.
Like, we had a big part of that, and like, especially the Spaniards down in South America. Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire, was the largest city on Earth when Pizarro found it. The Native Americans had the largest city on Earth with over 1 million people in it, and Pizarro killed them all with 60 men. Because he had guns.
Yeah, that's
60
crazy.
men. Something like
60.
that. Something like that, yeah.
It's really...
Yeah,
like,
so,
the
I mean,
way,
that's...
the way technology works,
yeah.
and...
Well, the way I feel about the Sentinelese is, like... Part of me is like, we're bad people for letting them live in such depraved conditions. Especially
what
because
can we do?
there's no evolutionary scale for them to follow in advance to get to our level because they're constrained to a tiny island. The vast majority of human innovation that we did was done by us going to war with each other and discovering new places and resources.
Yeah.
So they can't go to war with
the
anybody.
only way,
Yeah. They can't go to war with anybody, and they're constrained to too small of a location. And
the problem is, if they do expand, if they do decide to travel, they're probably gonna... if they go to the wrong place, it won't go well.
Well, yeah, if they go to the wrong place, they're going to kill them, or if they go to the wrong place, they're going to... We can't make physical contact with them because they probably can't survive any of our diseases.
Yeah.
It's the same problem with the Native Americans. We are not technologically advanced enough to know how to handle that yet. The common cold could kill could make them go extinct, possibly.
Yeah.
So it's like...
And vice versa, actually, they could have a disease that could absolutely annihilate us.
Kind of. I know there's a scientific reason why smaller populations don't generally wipe out the bigger ones.
Yeah.
But
they could hold, like, I don't know, maybe the plague or something.
They could.
There could be
but
some
all
plague.
I know is scientifically and statistically throughout history, it's always the more technologically advanced civilization that kills the smaller one.
Yeah.
With their disease. It's never the other way around for some reason.
No. It'd probably be something to do with pretty much just evolution.
Something like that. Well, it's not evolution. I mean, technically it is, but it's like we already experienced it generally. So, like, for instance, it's not like white people and Europeans didn't get smallpox when we gave it to the Native Americans. Most of us developed an immunity to it that either let us live when we got it, or just not get it at all.
I like natural selection, as horrible as it sounds.
It was natural selection. The only surviving Europeans were the ones that could survive the smallpox infection. Same with the plague, by the way.
Yeah.
While the Native Americans had never seen it before. So the only ones that survived were the ones that survived the smallpox infection, and there you go, herd immunity. We see that a lot with COVID.
Yeah.
However, COVID doesn't even remotely compare to either of those diseases. But
no.
Yeah.
It's got, like, what is it, like 0.1% or something fatality rate or something now?
It's got an absolutely pathetic fatality rate. Like think about, it's an opportunistic disease. It kills people who are already weakened. It doesn't... COVID rarely kills perfectly healthy people.
Yeah.
Because
I think
it's not good at it.
Right now,
it's not that lethal.
Physically, I'm, like, actually really healthy. But because of my condition and stuff, it gave me, like, an eating disorder, kind of, pretty much. Which then I ended up, like, with a lack of... I think it was... Is it vitamin D? Which
well, that's the important one, man. Yeah, the vitamin D's... You take tablets, dog. They're cheap.
Yeah, I pretty much am. Like, I've been on multiple tablets for different things and stuff. But yeah, it's like... Because of that, I think if I got COVID, then I would be in quite a bad state.
Right.
For a while.
Yeah, if your immune system is compromised or your lungs, that's when COVID's dangerous. Otherwise, it's really not. There are severe cases where perfectly healthy people die, but that's like so unlikely. Like Like when you start
Yeah.
when you start using that as your argument for like lockdowns and stuff, is
Yeah.
like, what if you're the 0.0001%, right? It's like, well, bro, every time you get
Yeah.
in a car, you're rolling a larger statistic to get into a car accident and die.
No, I guess let's put it in this perspective then.
Every time you chew
What
your
if you
food,
were
what if
that
you choke and die?
1% or something? What if you were in that percent that was at risk, though?
No, so I get that argument completely.
Yeah.
Right? I get that argument, and I'm not even saying we shouldn't lock down. I'm saying we should revise the lockdowns for said people. So like, instead of locking down the entire society, get the vaccinations to the people who are at risk. Let the people who aren't at risk get sick so that they can develop natural immunity to it, right? And use these systems like delivering groceries and stimulus checks to people who are now disadvantaged because they can't survive.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not even against all these welfare policies and stuff. I think what we're doing right now is overkill. And you asked if I am one of the 0.001%. The way I feel about that is like, you take risks like that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You can always be the 0.0001% of something. Like I was saying, every time you chew your food, you run a small chance that you're going to choke and die. Especially if you're like the only person at home. Every time you walk on a staircase, what if you trip and bang your head a little too hard? What if? There's a certain point where the chance of something happening negates the need for caution.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I stand on roofs for a living and ladders. You know what I mean? Like, what if I fall? Well, I'll try not to fall.
Pretty much becomes invalid to the point.
Yeah, there's a certain point where it's negligible. Yeah.
If you're not stupid about it, it's just, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but on top of that, like, even if every time you sneeze, Baron, you could die of a stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if you're that afraid of COVID, lock yourself down, whatever.
Yeah.
If you look at the statistics and you're like, I'm okay, then go get COVID. Honestly, the thing about COVID that bothers me is the amount of people who get healthy and then still can't taste or smell things. That's the thing that bothers me. Right. There's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, actually. And that's something that I think we should be taking more seriously. Ways to fix those people. Yeah.
Yeah. That does sound worrying.
But that's a different argument, right? Because before it was... I mean, do you destroy the entire economy because some people might not be able to smell or taste things anymore?
No, definitely not.
Exactly. Like, that's not the same argument as, oh, this virus is going to kill everybody, or, oh, this virus makes a select few people way more than 0.001%, but way less than everybody not taste and smell things anymore.
It might even, like, benefit us from not tasting things.
Yeah. There was this person over at my house yesterday. It was an acquaintance of my mom's. She still can't taste or smell things.
Right.
Since she had it, and she's like, I eat so healthy now, it's ridiculous because I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she doesn't have a preference. Thinking. Yeah.
Like, I'd love to just eat healthy things that I, don't just what I don't like. Sorry.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of veg, but like I do eat it. It's just I wish it tasted better sometimes.
See, I eat crazy healthy. It's just I have a taste for the bad stuff too. My problem is gluttony, not... The thing I have to avoid is eating too much, not what I eat. Because I naturally want the healthy stuff. I do.
Yeah.
The big problem is when I go downstairs looking for food, look in the fridge, no healthy options, there's only fucking cereal or something.
Easy to make a... And then you're just like, I'll have that. It's the easier option.
the easier, more convenient option is generally the one that is going to make me fat and give me diarrhea. Yeah. And it's the one that my psychology craves the most.
Right.
Because, like, broccoli with cheese on it tastes so fucking good to me, it's not even funny. But it does not trigger the same neurological response as chocolate.
Yeah.
It's not the same. The dopamine response is so different that, like... Now, if I can make myself eat the broccoli first, I am more likely to resist the craving of chocolate. Yeah. But if I've just got done fasting all day, which I do almost every day, and am in the same room as chocolate, I'm gonna eat the chocolate. If it's not somebody else's, I'm gonna eat the chocolate.
I hear you speaking to me.
Yeah, it's like there's almost zero. Like, that's what's so hard about fasting and dieting. It's part of the reason I want to move out of my parents' house really bad. Is so I can regulate what food is in the house.
Have your own thing, yeah.
Yeah, because when you are that hungry, you get kind of animalistic. Care. Yeah, you get a little animalistic. I have a limit. It's about 24 hours. If I hit a 24-hour mark without eating, I'll eat anything that I can eat. Anything.
Yeah.
And you know, you're not starving at that point. The human body can go like, you won't be comfortable, but the human body can go like 30 days without food.
Yeah.
So like, you're not starving to death, but your psychology is telling you to get anything and everything. It's less about how hungry you've gotten, and it's less about needing the food, and it's more about your brain having expected food. So if you eat 3 times a day and you miss a meal, you're gonna feel like shit because your body was expecting food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm getting kind of peckish now.
You're good. Actually, we can wrap this up anytime. We're rocking 2 hours and 35 minutes, dog. It's up to you.
Damn.
Yeah, if there's
I knew it was going on for quite a while.
That's what Joe Rogan does. His thing is 3 hours. That's what he aims for every time he does it.
Yeah.
I don't like, especially if we talk about a certain subject, I let it naturally end whenever it ends.
Yeah.
But
you don't.
Shooting the shits are normally 3 hours, though.
Like, squeeze every last drop.
Yeah. Shooting the shits normally around 3 hours because, you know, people are interesting if you really talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
Are
you saying they're less interesting because it's only 2.5 hours?
No, there's definitely been shooting the shit episodes that were shorter. You're good. What was I gonna say? But I think an episode me and you should do the subject. We could do a subject-based episode. It should be human nature, probably.
Yeah.
How would you feel if I brought another person on for that too? Like there were 3 of us.
Yeah. Depends who it is as well.
Yeah. I'll suss that out in more detail later on. But
synergy.
Yeah, synergy for sure. That's something I really miss Rye Guy for. Which the only reason I haven't been having him on the podcast because he's totally down for it. It's just like we agree on most things, so it's hard to like.
Right.
Like it would be like a 20-minute episode of him being like, you know what, man, this sucks, and he'd be like, yeah, it really do, and then that would be it. That's the only reason he hasn't been around.
I'd say that me and you do like have like a similar way of thinking,
but we disagree on shit. We just handle it really well.
Yeah, definitely. We're not snowflakes.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny hearing a British person talk about snowflakes. That's enjoyable.
It pisses me off, honestly.
That's a problem in your country?
Yeah, it's a problem everywhere.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, not everywhere, you know. Some countries, they'll just chop your head off for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying it happens. So
for your podcast and like the whole Discord and stuff, what you should do is have like a channel where you say, out my next podcast, I'm going to have this person and we're going to be talking about this subject. Who's interested? And see who's interested. Do something like that. Like, make them react to it. Like, you know, click on an emoji or something.
Oh, you mean like my viewers and stuff?
Well, your viewers or...
And our friends?
Anyone in the Discord. Yeah, like, you know, it could be good to bring someone new into it, like anyone.
Oh yeah, I would like to. I don't have huge I don't have huge social media followings or anything yet, and I'm working on that. I do definitely 100% plan on doing a bunch of community interaction, especially because YouTube would never make me any money anyway, like Patreon would. So like my patrons, if I ever got into Patreon, would be able to vote on the next video subject. They'd be able to vote on who the guests are, possibly. They'd be able to vote on all this stuff. That doesn't even mean I'm totally going to listen to it, but I'll take it into consideration. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's my fucking podcast, right?
Oh,
but, yeah.
No, like, I think it's a good way that it could help expand, because if you're, you know, if you're talking to your viewers and listening to the community more. That's what people like. People like interaction, and interaction's the best way that you could expand, because someone will be like, "Oh yeah, I spoke like to this guy. We were on like one of his podcasts," and then that'll interest someone else, and then you know.
That could be really cool,
Oh,
actually. Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think about how I'd go about doing it though. That's all I don't know.
Baby steps with your socials,
Yeah.
like Instagram and stuff like that.
I've got photographer managing that right now, but I just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't know where to get with that yet. Like for instance,
Well,
3am has a Twitter. I have 0 Twitter followers because like I didn't even have a Twitter.
I don't even use Twitter.
Yeah,
Like,
I know Twitter's
think,
the big thing in the entertainment industry though, which is why I have one.
yeah. Right. Well, first of all, I'd probably start with Discord. Like, make your Discord a bit more official, kind of thing, because right now it's just we've got the text channel and the voice channel, and then
Right.
just got people online, offline. Like, try and make it a little more interesting. Like, you want to put you as the podcaster, and like people who've been on as guests to your podcast, put them as like guests basically,
Right.
and then like you've got your viewers and stuff like. And then you could have your YouTube channel, like links and stuff, and
Right.
yeah, you
And
can make it,
I could make
Discord's definitely the platform to do it on.
yeah, and I could make a chat meant for fans and stuff, and like stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
that could
yeah,
be cool.
exactly. Like Patreon and stuff like that. Yeah, I'd definitely be down to help you with that if you needed it.
Yeah,
Because,
Baron, I think I'm gonna be talking to you more here soon. for sure, you're gonna help me out. All right. But yeah, we can end the podcast there. You good with that?
yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, sweet.
And
This
it's
has been my British
a
friend
fun one.
Baron. Yeah, it's been a fun one, and goodbye, everybody.
bye.